depression. I was so happy. I had no idea that could be my reality.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
5:06. Let's get an update on the roads this morning in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here's Jim Talamonte. Good morning, Jim.
Mike, things are looking great right now on the expressways and tollways. Overnight roadwork is cleared, including on Lakeshore Drive at the Stevenson. There is access again from southbound Lakeshore Drive. No problems to report on the Edens, the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, the Stevenson, or the Rhine with the overnight work gone. Area tollways are looking good. No delays to report in northwest Indiana. Plus some traffic around Allstate Arena later this morning. The Chicago Sky have an 11:30 start today against the Indiana Fever. Traffic service of Burger King's classic grilled dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try a classic grilled dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is to go to Burger King, ask for the $1 deal on the classic grilled dog. At participating Burger King restaurants, limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Sunshine today, high 78, clear night, low 59. Partly sunny tomorrow with a high 81. Then at night becoming mostly cloudy with a shower or thunderstorm, a low tomorrow night of 62. Clouds and sun for Friday, high of 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare, 62 along Chicago's lakefront, 58 Midway, 52 in Aurora this morning. And your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Grow My Retirement with Bill Geiger of Geiger Wealth. Tune in Saturday afternoons at 2 for Grow My Retirement with Bill Geiger of Geiger Wealth.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, terrorist attack in Istanbul at Istanbul's Ataturk International Airport. It's the 11th busiest airport in the world. It's the 3rd busiest airport in Europe. 36 dead. The latest count I heard, 36 dead, 147 injured.
Yeah, and yesterday the numbers were all over the place, but they said 36 dead right now, but 14 are in very grave condition, very serious condition, and they could pass.
Well, and of course, there's video that was making its way around yesterday that's rather jarring. 2 videos I saw, one of an explosion in part of the airport. That was one of the 3 suicide bombers. And then another where apparently a police officer or security guard at the airport shoots one of the terrorists. And then he's lying there for a moment. Then he detonates a suicide vest, and the screen goes flash.
And he drops his gun, too. You can see his gun once the cop shoots him. He falls to the floor. His gun slides on the floor, and then you can see him reaching for that cord, and it's just heartbreaking. And it's in the baggage claim area, and they don't, anybody could go into a public airport and go into the baggage claim area or go into, the departure gates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Do we have to change the way we do business? Because eventually, Dan, it is going to happen here. We all know that. It is bound to happen here. Maybe not at O'Hare or at Midway, but at American Airport. It's going to happen.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But I think it's softer targets here seem to be the choice of these kind of radicalized Islamic terrorists. We've seen it in Orlando. We've seen it in San Bernardino. By the way, I'll be interested to find out if these 3 suicide bombers in Turkey were on Tinder or a Grindr. Or do they have anybody that's going to come forward and say that they were gay?
Latent homosexuals, Dan, is what we call them.
Or here, are we going to focus on the big thing?
Yes.
The main thing.
radical Islamic terror, the Islamic State taking credit, to use that word morbidly, for the attack.
And they were placed under high alert a few days ago. I mean, Ramadan ends July 6th, but there were calls to do attacks or commit terror acts during the month of Ramadan.
Yeah, and the Istanbul has been a target of terrorism.
Oh, yeah.
This is not new. This is the third attack in Istanbul this year, including one just early June. It was a car suicide bomber that killed 12. So it's very, very interesting to hear Turkish President Erdogan's response to this, calling on kind of the unified Western world to combat radical Islamic terrorism, because his statements in the past, particularly as it pertains to Israel, have been mixed at best. So when you have a truly horrific event on this sort of scale, it's interesting how politicians changed their tune. Even Hillary Clinton was able to muster the words radical jihadism.
She was?
In her statement.
Oh, because I heard her say that we need deeper cooperation with our allies in the Middle East and around the world.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, that's pro forma.
And while Donald Trump was fight fire with fire and we should bring back waterboarding.
Do you remember when I got in some trouble where I talked about waterboarding? They asked me a question. They said, what do you think about waterboarding? I said, I like it a lot, and I don't think it's tough enough. We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people.
Are you impressed?
And?
Are you impressed?
I don't think impressed is the issue. The question is, does that make sense? Not waterboarding as some kind of panacea. No. But do we have to be more focused and project and deliver strength in response to radical Islamic terror? Yeah. I mean, is that a question? Is there anybody who doesn't think so? Is there anybody who thinks that this administration has been as aggressive as it should have been, could be, in combating radical Islamic terrorism? They
don't fear us. Yeah,
they don't fear us. I mean, the JV team. It's the JV team.
I wonder if Obama regrets saying that.
He doesn't regret anything. This is an interesting piece. This is on a related note. And by the way, it's this before we get to Al Qaeda and their interesting missive to lone wolves out there. Mm-hmm. This is interesting because earlier this week it was announced that Iraqi forces had retaken Fallujah from ISIS. So
they were
a major victory, major city, of course, a site where a number of American servicemen lost their lives, and so what John Brennan, the CIA director, said continues to be true, and so it's kind of the proper threat assessment. So you deliver the proper response, and what he said last week, testifying before Congress, was, "Look, we're gaining back some ground. We're shrinking ISIS's footprint in Iraq and Syria, but we have done nothing to diminish ISIS's capacity to exact global terrorism." And this is more evidence of that. The juxtaposition of taking back Fallujah and another horrific attack at a major population center of commerce, an airport in Istanbul, goes to his point. But Al-Qaeda, this is really interesting. Lone wolf jihadists should target white Americans so no one mistakes their terror attacks for hate crimes unrelated to the cause of radical Islam. This in Al-Qaeda's latest edition of its online magazine. I let my subscription run out.
Oh, dear.
Al-Qaeda...
So they want us to focus on Whitey? Get Whitey?
So
there's no fear of a hate crime?
Well, and so liberals can continue to advance their narrative. This is AQAP, Al-Qaeda of the Arabian Peninsula, article titled Inspire Guide Orlando Operation. Avoid targeting places and crowds where minorities are generally found. Because if gays or Latinos appear to be the targets, the federal government will be the one taking full responsibility. Yeah. Jihadists should target areas where the Anglo-Saxon community is generally concentrated. I'm quoting. The class of the American community is the majority, and it is the one in the American leadership. So to some extent, they're saying, well, that's the America's power structure. But it's also suggesting that the response is going to be very different if you target white Americans versus minorities, gays, Latinos, and other minority groups in this country. Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
They're on to us.
They're on to us.
They are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're monitoring us if only we were returning the favor.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Beautiful night last night. Windows open, AC off, and we may be able to do it again today. It's going to be pleasant and warm. Plenty of sunshine, but a high in the upper 70s. Then tonight, lows in the 50s again. And then tomorrow, partly sunny skies. Just a gorgeous day, a high of 81. Let's get those travel times. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Dan. Things look great right now on the expressways and tollways. The Edens is fine, 19 minutes either way between Lake Cook and Montrose. The Kennedy, delay-free, 20 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound the same. The Eisenhower's at its base travel time, 29 minutes either way between Thorndale and the old post office downtown. The Stevenson good, 34 minutes, 3:55. The Lakeshore Drive, outbound 34 as well. The Ryan, still 15 minutes, 95 to downtown, and outbound also 15. I-57, Bishop Ford, just fine. The tollways look great. No delays to report on I-80 or in Northwest Indiana. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
Hey, let me get right to the point. Thousands of listeners have bought MyPillows. If you're not one of them, why not? If for no other reason than you haven't changed your pillow in the last couple of years, now would be a great time. Your pillows absorb dead skin, dirt, skin oils, and dust mites that can cause allergies, acne, asthma, and who knows what else. You really deserve a washable MyPillow. It comes with a 10-year warranty, and it's a great health investment. Best of all, I know you'll sleep better. I do. MyPillow is the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation for good reason. Hey, visit MyPillow.com or call 1-800-489-0201. Use that promo code Joe for the 2-for-1 offer. Give one as a gift and keep the other one for you. Do it now. 1-800-489-0201 or online at mypillow.com. Promo code Joe. 1-800-489-0201.
Hi, I'm Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, and I'm here to tell you about an amazing new way you can start losing weight for free right now. You've probably seen our workout DVDs on TV like P90X, Insanity, and 21 Day Fix. We just launched a beta trial of our new digital video platform, Beachbody On Demand. So while we're testing out this new digital video service, I'm inviting you to use it for free for 30 days. That means you can lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, even 30 pounds without paying a dime. Text the word TRIAL to 303030, and you can do 30 days of P90X, Insanity, or any of over 400 workouts for free. Now here's the catch. In return, all I ask is you let us know what you think of the service so we can make Beachbody On Demand the best fitness and weight loss site ever created. Just text TRIAL to 303030 and get started for free right now. Again, text TRIAL to 303030.
Message and data rates may apply. Membership fees apply after 30-day free trial. Cancel anytime.
Coming up next, it's me, Mike Gallagher, right after Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, UK Independent Party leader Nigel Farage had the opportunity to address the EU yesterday, and he gave a better preview of Trump's first State of the Union address than Trump did yesterday.
Really?
Listen to Nigel Farage talking to all of the elites in the EU. Nigel Farage at the EU. Who's laughing now?
Well, thank you, Mr. Schultz. Isn't it funny? You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
Oh, dead silence, too.
Yeah, he's not no problem spiking the football,
Oh, my God.
spiking the American football for Nigel Farage there. And he also had the opportunity to speak with Richard Quest. He was interviewed on CNN, and he weighed in on the presidential race. Here's what he had to say about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump dares to talk about things that other people want to brush under the carpet. But what Mr. Trump is doing in America is very different to what I'm trying to do in the United Kingdom. My problem in politics is far greater than Donald Trump's. We literally have lost our sovereignty, lost our borders, lost our ability to regulate.
He would say the same thing about U.S. borders.
Well, the problem that you've got in the U.S. is illegal immigration. Our problem is legal immigration to 500 million people.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They sound like the same person.
Yeah, Richard Quest.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
But Farage makes a good point. But frankly, we have illegal immigration that is operating under the guise of legal immigration. Just to clarify Mr. Farage's contrast between the two countries, executive amnesty, illegal, been held so by the courts. Is it stopping? No, not really, because who's going to stop the President of the United States? Who's going to stop the Attorney General of the United States? The courts can weigh in, and our political leaders continue to do the same thing. And frankly, that's what led, in part, to Brexit, to the leave. And this is why Nigel Farage is ascendant. And then he tackled the question of Hillary.
I think for the United Kingdom, I think Trump would be better for us than Barack Obama's been, of that there's no doubt.
And against Hillary Clinton? Or are you not going to take sides at this early stage?
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
You sure you don't want to think about that for a second?
No, absolutely not.
I mean,
she represents the political elite. It's almost as if she feels she has a sort of divine right to have that job.
Wow.
So, as I said, a preview of Trump's State of the Union address. I could see Trump in the well saying, when I announced my candidacy in June of 2015, you all laughed at me.
Right.
You're not laughing now, are you? And going on about the elites. I mean, the rhetoric.
Political elites,
yeah, well, not just political elites, but I mean the elites across the board. That kowtow to the political elites, and the political elites who kowtow to the elites in media and entertainment and academia and the like. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the rhetoric during the whole run-up to the Brexit vote and then subsequent to it. And the rhetoric in this campaign, I mean, Donald Trump's, the crest that Donald Trump has ridden to the nomination, a lot of similarities. There is this...
Because both thought both things couldn't be done.
Well, there's this populist revolt going on in the Western world that a lot of elites still don't want to take notice of. I'm struck to some extent by the kind of the Trump supporters who wear halos around their heads and just will not see anything in their peripheral vision. They just refuse. And they become a bit of the new Republican establishment, even though they're in their infancy. The idea that you fall in line and don't ask any questions or get out. Well, that's what the GOP establishment used to do still does to conservatives and, frankly, people like the many of the Trump supporters. So it's odd that some have chosen that tack. But then on the flip side, think about the Beltway types, even people I really like. We had Tim Carney from the Washington Examiner on the show yesterday. I think their antipathy to Trump is clouding their analysis of what's happening. And I think there is a very good chance on the first Tuesday after the first Monday, you're going to have a reaction from the elites in society, like in this country, like you did in Britain last Friday. Stunned, shocked.
Do you really think Donald Trump is going to beat Hillary Clinton?
I will cite Tony Blair, who said yesterday that...
Oh, yeah, he was on CNN.
It's very difficult. There's no political way, short of full-on repression, this is me paraphrasing him, to stop a populist movement. And Trump has blunted his own movement to some extent, or the movement that he's the titular head of. It's actually bigger than Trump. He's just a vehicle for it. He's blunted it, but he can't stop it. And when he gets back on track, even though I disagree with about 85% of what he said in his protectionist trade speech yesterday, but when he gets back on track to feed that populist movement, it'll get back on track and be as strong as it was within the Republican primary, leading him to the nomination. Very, very difficult to stop a populist movement short of repression. And I know that's not beyond Hillary's contemplation, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
Hey, if you're a real estate professional or considering a career in real estate, I have an exciting new opportunity for you. It's a unique revenue and profit-sharing model which allows you to gain partnership equity and experience a quality of life unmatched in the industry. Hi, I'm Mark Whittington with Inspire Realty Partners. And we believe it's time real estate professionals had an opportunity to build equity ownership and earn higher commissions. After all, do you know a retired real estate agent? Imagine having ownership equity and working toward building a retirement income stream. Inspire Realty Partners is a rapidly expanding team of like-minded professionals with a mission to elevate the level of service and provide a better experience for buyers and sellers. Our special program servicing veterans, first responders, educators, and their families has created an extra demand for quality associate partners. If you're interested in learning how you can become inspired, visit our career-specific website, joininspire.com. Again, that's joininspire.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Trey Gowdy wants us to compare the public statements made by the administration on Benghazi to the private knowledge they had. So we're going to do that at 5:38.
Yeah, breaking down the Benghazi report and what to wear. They just couldn't decide what to wear. We'll explain. But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Clear and 59 right now, and Turkey is in shock. 3 suicide bombers attacking Istanbul's Ataturk airport. 36 killed. Fox's Jessica Gulliher is in the Middle East Bureau with more on this developing story.
Istanbul's Ataturk Airport has partially reopened after 3 suicide bombers armed with weapons used taxis to reach the facility. All 3 attackers died in addition to at least 36 people. 2 victims have been identified, including an Iranian and a Ukrainian. Officials expect the number of dead to increase. More than 140 people are injured. Meanwhile, workers have started clearing up some of the debris from the violence. Passengers are being instructed to check on their flight status, as about 1/3 of the scheduled flights have been canceled. In the Mideast Bureau, Jessica Gallagher, Fox News.
Presidential candidates are reacting to the deadly attack in Istanbul. Republican Donald Trump.
There's something going on that's really, really bad. All right? It's bad. And we better get smart and we better get tough. Well, we're not going to have much of a country left, okay?
Hillary Clinton saying the attack strengthens our resolve in the fight against terror. The Italian Navy saying this morning it's raising a migrant ship that sank off Sicily last year, carrying nearly 700 to their deaths. Toyota recalling nearly 1.5 million hybrid Prius and Lexus cars over a possible airbag inflator defect. The recall impacts 2010 through 2012 vehicles. Flames from the wreckage of 2 trains that collided head-on in Texas have delayed the search for 3 missing crew members near the town of Panhandle. That Mega Millions jackpot is still on the line. The massive jackpot now estimated at $415 million. No winner last night. A Wisconsin woman accused of killing a pregnant mother and her unborn baby is now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. A reward of $100,000 is being offered for information leading to the capture of Shanika Minor. Governor Bruce Rauner pushing a stopgap funding budget to take care of schools, universities, and other state services amid an ongoing fight with Democrats who run the legislature. The General Assembly expects to be back in Springfield today. A woman dead, struck by a CTA Red Line train in downtown Chicago near State and Jackson. And 3 Cook County jail officers are recovering following a major scuffle with an inmate. Guards were bringing the inmate back to his cell when he tried to douse them with a bottle filled with urine. Each victim sustained minor injuries in an attempt to restrain that inmate. Chicago sports, Cubs over Cincinnati, 7-2 in 15 innings. Chris Bryant, the game-winning signal, but Javi Baez also smacked a grand slam. Brian Dozier homered twice. Twins blanked the White Sox 4-zip. And the news, a service of Bank of America. Want cash back at Costco or Sam's Club, maybe BJ's today? Use your Bank of America card, Cash Rewards Visa credit card, and earn 2% cash back at wholesale clubs. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/getcashback. 5:33 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity believes our government is not looking out for our well-being.
441 Syrian refugees have been admitted to the United States just since the Orlando attack. I've got a whole list here of names of people, all warning that ISIS will infiltrate the refugee population. Now, is that going to stop them from doing something stupid? Apparently not, because they're going forward with it.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW for help getting free medication, if available and eligible. That's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hey, Bob, how's business? Is the new website helping?
Not good. I can't figure out how to get the website finished. How did you do it?
Easy. I called Web.com. They built my website for free. Then they promoted it on all the search engines.
Like Google, Yahoo, and Bing?
Exactly. And Web.com has helped grow my business so much, I had to bring on new staff.
Hey, if Web.com did it for you, they're perfect for me.
Call now, 1-800-535-8815. That's 1-800-535-8815. Again, 1-800-535-8815.
5:35, let's get an update on your ride to work this morning. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Ryan Expressway, we're now seeing delays. Approaching downtown, it's stop and go from the Stevenson to the Burns Circle. 20 minutes, 95th to the loop. Outbound 5 at 15. Bishop Ford got delays starting at King Drive. About a 2-minute slowdown there. And I-57 stop and go starting at 103rd. It's a 5-minute delay. Edens, Kennedy just fine. Inbound Eisenhower, a little bit congested now past Manheim. Inbound Stevenson slowed past the county line at Harlan-McKenzie. 40 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Tollways look good. Traffic is a service. Burger King's Classic Grilled Dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try Classic Grilled Dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is go to Burger King and ask for the $1 deal on the Classic Grilled Dog at participating Burger King restaurants. Limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. A pleasant day ahead. Warmer and plenty of sunshine. High 78. Clear 59 overnight. 81 tomorrow. 56 at O'Hare. 59 along Chicago's lakefront. It is 49 this morning in Aurora. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is powered by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping the lights on through summer storms.
AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the Benghazi Select Committee in the House, and Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio and others spoke about the 800-page report that they released. We'll have Congressman Peter Roskam from Illinois 6th here out there in the western suburbs. He'll be on at 7:35 to talk about this as well. He also is a member of that select committee. And they released their findings. And in response to questions from the press, Trey Gowdy just had this to say.
I want you to contrast the information and the evidence that was available on the evening of September the 11th. Look at the full body of evidence that was available. And then look at what was said. And then you draw your own conclusion of whether or not you made the best use of the evidence and the information that was available. It is one thing to say the evidence didn't exist. It existed. We found them. We found the DS agents. We found the GRS agents. Their conversations ongoing throughout the night. She actually talked to Greg Hicks. So that argument actually works both ways. If there's a failure of information, she was fairly definitive in certain statements she made to other people privately. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't like, I can't answer that question, Mr. Egyptian political leader, we don't know. She was pretty definitive. It was just in the public statements to us that there was less definitiveness. So you're going to have to decide that for yourself.
Well, just a couple of, to take up Trey Gowdy's challenge, a couple of examples of what he's talking about, public versus private, public statements versus private knowledge. 10 o'clock, 10:08 p.m. to be exact, on 9/11/2012, when this attack occurred, Hillary Clinton made a public statement. I condemn in the strongest terms the attack on our mission in Benghazi today. Some have sought to justify this behavior, this vicious behavior, as a response to inflammatory material posted on the internet. About 3.5 hours earlier, her private statement to the president of Libya, Mohammed al-Magharif, under the heading Purpose of Call, notes that Secretary should urge Mr. Magharif to respond urgently to the attack against the U.S. mission Benghazi and security threats against U.S. Embassy Tripoli. No mention of a protest or a video. Our diplomatic mission was attacked. There's a gun battle ongoing, which I understand Ansar al-Sharia is claiming responsibility for. No mention of a protest or a video. Secretary Clinton's email to Chelsea at 11 o'clock on that date, as was gone over during her testimony before the committee, but it bears repeating. 2 of our officers were killed in Benghazi by an al-Qaeda-like group. No mention of video. It's just an example. private knowledge
Well,
versus public statements.
Yeah, and they were sending different signals, and they were trying to keep the story contained. And that's what, I learned from reading parts of the Benghazi report, is also, too, that they had help. But listen to this, Dan. I don't know if you heard this or read this, but they had Marines. There were Marines ready to go, and they changed in and out of civilian clothing 4 different times. So the politics of it all, because the State Department didn't want to upset the troops on the ground. Like, how will they perceive us in Libya if we show up in uniform?
It wasn't how Libya will perceive us. It's how we will be perceived if there are so-called boots on the ground in uniform. So this is the back and forth between having military personnel in civilian clothes versus military uniforms because of Obama's red line, if you will, no boots on the ground in Libya. And to that point, the day of the attack, in a 5 p.m. meeting that included then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, Obama said U.S. should use all available resources. After that meeting, Panetta returned to the Pentagon to discuss what resources were available, and he then issued an order to deploy military assets to Libya. But no assets were sent. Nothing was even en route when the last 2 Americans were killed 8 hours after the attacks began. The holdup caused in part by a 7:30 teleconference between Defense and State Department officials, including Hillary Clinton. The cover was they were sharing intelligence and coordinating responses, but what they were actually doing, to your point, and that incredible aspect of this report that you raise about the changing of the uniforms, they debated whether they needed Libya's permission to deploy American troops to defend endangered Americans, whether Marines should wear uniforms or civilian clothes, and so on. This is what they're discussing.
It's the politics of
While
it all.
4 Americans, 2 Americans are dead and 2 others are fighting for their lives, as are dozens more who did survive the attack.
And one who did survive is Mark Geist. He was on last night with Megyn Kelly, responding to the Benghazi report and the fact that nobody came because they were too busy deciding what they're going to wear.
Tonto didn't care if he was in shorts or blue jeans, and I don't think the Libyans cared either. I mean, worrying about whether or not somebody's uniform is going to offend somebody in a combat situation when American lives are at stake is ludicrous.
And that man, Mark, he worked security for the Annex when his friends were killed, and he just help never arrived.
The intent on avoiding boots on the ground and the perception of boots on the ground. And despite what they knew or should have known about Libya, what they certainly knew, because the report, the Benghazi report, details 10 previous terror attacks in Benghazi, including 2 IED attacks in the American compound. Yet the State Department had actually decreased its security there months before the 9/11 2012 attack. Because, why? We didn't want to have a formal presence there. This was Hillary's gambit, which, of course, she successfully helped turn Libya into a jihadist playground. But this was her gambit. There was going to be no boots on the ground. There was going to be no imprimatur of American military presence. And so lives were effectively, you could say, sacrificed, certainly compromised in advance of those political ends. And that's exactly what Congressman Jim Jordan said in his remarks to the press yesterday, kind of politics being placed ahead of sensible policy and appropriate response when American lives are at stake.
So the why. Why did it happen? And you look at every step of this, and I am convinced, just as sure as I'm standing here, it happened because of political concerns this administration had. Why did we stay in Benghazi when almost everyone else was leaving? Why did we stay when the security posture and security position was so dangerous? Why did we mislead the American people? And why did it take so long to get? Why were they talking about making sure military went in civilian clothes and not uniforms? In the end, it was political concerns that drove this. The evidence strongly shows that, and that's what we outline in our report.
It's so weird. The mainstream media says there's no smoking gun from this report. There's nothing to see here, folks. Hillary is not to blame. The administration is not to blame. And Hillary was so sick yesterday. She was so flippant because I think she owes these Benghazi victims' family members an apology. And her response to the report makes me sick.
I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
Time to move on.
4 people died, including your friend, and she acts so cavalier. It's time to move on.
She also-
Instead of apologizing, like, we're sorry that it happened, our condolences still. We think about what happened every day. We can learn from this experience. We're going to grow as a country. And instead, she says that.
Yeah, she also.
is she that out of touch?
She also lied to Sean Smith's mom, which is why Sean Smith's mom has been outspoken. Sean Smith's mom saying that Hillary said to her on 9/14, 3 days after the attack, "We were nose to nose at the coffin ceremony. She told me it was the fault of the video. I said, 'Are you sure?' She said, 'Yes, that's what it was. It was the video.'" That's what Hillary told Sean Smith's mom. You don't even have the decency to level with the mother of an American killed in action. And, if people will say, well, she couldn't disclose what she knew to, a civilian. Okay, then be honest and say, Mrs. Smith, I'm terribly sorry for the loss of your son. I can't tell you what I know because it's sensitive information, but as soon as I can be fully honest with you, I will, rather than tell the mother of someone who lost their son serving this country a lie that you knew was a lie.
But she lied to him, too, in front of his flag-draped coffin. That's what makes it even
That's right.
Sicker.
At the coffin ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what kind of
she turns
fool
around
she
and
is.
she emails her daughter and tells her daughter the truth, but doesn't have the level of respect to tell this grieving mother the truth.
Says something about Hillary Clinton.
She's not fit to lead.
And frankly, the question, how does she survive? How does she survive
because
politically?
Nobody cares.
Well,
we care, but the mainstream media doesn't care, and her lovers, her followers, my gosh, they could care less too. They'll care less about Benghazi. They could care less about the emails. And I always repeat to them, she is the only candidate in the history of this country who is running for president and also being investigated by the FBI. Doesn't that click or register? And still nothing.
Well, Lyndon LaRouche ran for president from jail, so I guess she's in good company in that stead. So here was the coverage. To just give you a couple examples, David French has an excellent piece in National Review on this, and he also explains how she survived, which I want to get to. But New York Times, ending one of the longest, costliest, and most bitterly partisan congressional investigations in history.
2 years, $7 million.
The House Select Committee on Benghazi issued its final report, finding no new evidence of culpability or wrongdoing by Hillary Clinton. Of the Washington Post, a final report was issued by the Republican majority that investigated the 2012. If the Republicans are investigating, it's illegitimate. It's by definition illegitimate. That's why they have to include that. It's just partisan. All of this evidence, the 800 pages worth of evidence, that's just partisan fantasy. They're just making it up out of whole cloth. This is the way the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Washington, D.C. press corps cover it. But here's how she survives. I think French summarizes this very nicely. Here's what they do. When news first breaks, say what needs to be said to escape the news cycle unscathed. Next, when the truth starts to emerge, deny wrongdoing and state that any comprehensive judgment should be withheld pending a full investigation. When the investigation commences, stonewall the investigators and accuse conservatives of being obsessed or on a witch hunt. By the time wrongdoing is finally confirmed beyond any reasonable doubt, the average voter will have forgotten why the scandal was a scandal to begin with, or if he hasn't forgotten and actually did withhold judgment, the waters will be so muddied he won't know whom to believe. That is, in a paragraph, what has happened since the attack on Benghazi on 9/11/2012, 4 years later. That is exactly the stages we have gone through. And to some extent, Republicans weren't as effective as they could be. But it is remarkable how she survives. Bob in Oswego. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Amy. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, just a couple of things. First of all, when President Obama said no boots on the ground, that was just there. It emboldened them that there was going to be nobody there to protect them. So off the get-go, they knew they had, free range to go in there. Second of all, I didn't see, and I missed a lot of news last night, but I didn't see anybody going to Obama and asking him about this and, about the political side of it or any of that. I'm just sick about it. I don't know what to believe anymore. Crazy.
Obama spoke through Josh Ernst and blamed Republicans.
The degree to which Republicans are willing to play politics with their death and this tragedy is appalling.
And then they slowly dissolved to a picture of the 4 who died and Chris Stevens. I mean, it was so sick. The way they even presented that.
Josh Ernst is offended.
Yeah.
He's offended.
But isn't he speaking on behalf of President Obama?
He absolutely
Yes,
is. Frank in St. Charles, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, one thing that keeps getting skipped over is if the president and Leon Panetta says to deploy help for Benghazi, who was it that didn't follow that order? What is the name of the person who dropped the ball?
Mistakes were made, Frank.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
In the end, the Gaddafi forces saved the remaining men. Mark Geist, one of them that you just heard from.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in point of fact, the other thing this 800-page report does is vindicate the movie 13 Hours.
Oh, yeah, which I want to see again for a third time. Everybody should go see that movie. Required viewing. Hey, today it's going to be pleasant, warm, plenty of sunshine, a high of 78 degrees. Tonight, another beautiful night without AC, a low in the 50s. And for tomorrow, it's going to be partly sunny, another gorgeous day, a high of 81. Any pleasantries on the roadways? Here's Jim Delamonte.
Good morning, Amy and Dan. The Edens is still nice, 19 minutes either way between Lake Cook and Montrose. And the Kennedy, too, it's getting a little heavier, but still 20 minutes either way between O'Hare and downtown. The Eisenhower has delays. Manheim to First, 34 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound it's clear. Northbound I-55, slow approaching 355. There's a crash. Car hit the wall. Then stop and go Lamont to County Line and Harlem to Kedzie. 55 minutes already. 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 34 from the Tri-State. It's okay outbound. The Ryan, 23 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, Bishop Ford, both 25 minutes from I-80 to the Verge. Northbound Tri-State, heavy approaching 290. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Looking to secure financing on a new home or refinance your existing home? Then you need to do what I did and call David Hochberg. Carol called to consolidate her mortgage, credit card debt, and student loans because her husband, Sam, listens to David's show. So Carol and Sam lived on credit cards to feed their family and cover expenses when Sam lost his job. Sound familiar? David informed Carol consolidating her debt into a 15-year fixed loan would reduce her payment over $1,000 a month. Carol talked it over with Sam, and this is a direct quote. If David said to do it, then let's do it. Needless to say, David is helping Carol and Sam recalibrate their debt and save over $12,000 a year. Wow. So if you've accumulated debt because of a job loss and you'd like David's help recalibrating your debt, give him a call right now, 312-751-1333, or visit am560david.com. David helped me, and he's helped thousands of AM560 listeners, and he'll help you, but you have to call him. 312-751-1333, or visit am560david.com. Pro Mortgage is an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee, 4358 RMLL NMLS 19186.
Get ready for the event of the summer, the Lyle Eyes to the Skies Festival, July 1st through 3rd. If you had to pick only one festival this summer, this is the one you and your family can't miss. The Lyle Eyes to the Skies Festival has been entertaining folks for over 30 years with morning and evening balloon launches, balloon glows, nightly fireworks, and live music on 2 stages. Plus, there's a carnival with rides, craft fair, a huge kids area, and over 50 unique food vendors. Ever wondered what riding in a hot air balloon feels like, but maybe a bit nervous? Try a tethered balloon ride. The balloons are tied off to the field and go up between 50 and 100 feet in the air. Take some amazing pictures from this incredible view. Make plans now for the Lyle Eyes to the Skies Festival, July 1st through 3rd. Admission is just $8 each day with kids under 6 free. Go to eyes-to-the-skies.org for special discounts for military on July 3rd and for locations of free parking and shuttle service. That's eyes-to-the-skies.org. You can also get the complete balloon launch schedule and all the info you'll need for an awesome weekend. Don't miss the Lyle Eyes to the Skies Festival, July 1st through 3rd.
Not available in all states. Whoa, what do you have there?
It's a recent Irvy's frozen yogurt. We just had our robot make one.
A robot made your frozen yogurt?
Yes, the world's first fully interactive robot vending machine that serves 9 flavors of delicious yogurt with 6 amazing toppings. And it's available for an exclusive franchise opportunity.
How do I get my own recent Irvy's robots?
It's easy, but you better act now. Locations and machines are going fast. Just go to froyofranchising.com. That's froyofranchising.com. Check it out now, froyofranchising.com.
Mike Rowe here for 1 hour. Today, Chuck is jogging in place to make a point about energy efficiency.
I thought I was training for a marathon.
He's been at it now for...
3 minutes.
And already he's wearing out.
I'm not.
Your heating and air conditioning systems are a lot like Chuck.
Warm yet somehow cool.
Wheezing, wasting energy, and probably headed for replacement.
You're talking about the air systems, right?
Sure, pal. Sure. Call 1 hour before it's too late.
Can you do the disclaimer for me?
Each independent franchise is licensed in its respective state or county.
Thanks.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, Glitz is coming to Cleveland. How about this?
You crack me up.
Donald Trump lining up some of his sports celebrity friends for the convention, and we've actually got one of them lined up for the top of the 8 o'clock hour. He's Coach Ditka.
Coach. Yeah, Mike Ditka. He wants Bobby Knight. He wants Mike Tyson. Donald Trump.
America's favorite convicted rapist, Mike Tyson.
Exactly. But Donald Trump needs some glitz and glam, some celebrity for the GOP convention because no politicians are showing up. I mean, John Kasich, governor of Ohio, he's not coming. The Bushes aren't coming. Romney's not going. Governor Ronner's not. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, but you know
so
who
he needs help.
You know who is coming, and we're going to get to see them.
What? Oh, Diamond and Silk?
No, I'm talking to some of the acts that are performing.
Oh.
How about this?
All right, I'm ready because we're going to be there in less than a month.
Okay. Brett Michaels from Poison. Every rose.
Is he
has
really
its
performing?
thorn. Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting. What else?
Rick Springfield.
Oh, Jesse's girl.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. I never made out with him, but I want to.
Or the lesser known but equally memorable Don't Talk to Strangers.
Don't talk to strangers, baby, don't you talk.
Martina McBride, Rascal Flatts.
Okay, awesome.
How about it? There's gonna be a rockin' good time in Cleveland. I'm glad we're going, and I'm looking forward to Mike Ditka's reprisal of the Clint Eastwood empty chair speech.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, I want to tell you about my friends at Guardian Security Services. Because here's the deal. If you're unhappy with your door staff or on-site security officers at your business or property, or you're just not receiving the services you were promised, there's no reason to tolerate it. Call my friends right now at Guardian Security Services to discuss your security officer needs. These guys are amazing. They've been Chicago's best for 41 years. They only assign the most professional, highly trained security officers in all of Chicagoland. Their vetting practices are exceptional. If you're finally ready to explore an alternative to your current security officer provider, then doggone it, do it. Pick up the phone right now and schedule a free security assessment with my friends at Guardian Security Services. Tell them me, Joe Walsh, sent you. Right now, call 708-385-3300. Again, 708-385-3300 or online at guardiansecurityinc.com.
You're unique, so why is your mattress one size fits all? Because a custom mattress costs thousands, until now. Hi, I'm Christian von Rickenbach, founder of HelixSleep.com, where you can buy a mattress online, customized for you, for hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. Go to HelixSleep.com, answer a few simple questions, and we build you the most comfortable mattress you'll ever sleep on. Shipping is free, and you have 100 nights to try it out. Go to HelixSleep.com/try now and get $50 off your order. HelixSleep.com/try now.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW for help getting free medication, if available and eligible. That's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, we've got an updated body count, unfortunately. 41 dead, 239 injured in that terrorist attack in Istanbul. And we'll talk to Bill Roggio from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies at 6:06 about it.
But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, Fox with the latest on that developing story in Turkey this morning as our state budget battle looms large today in Springfield. A 7-year-old dies at a local cheerleading camp. We'll tell you why. And Illinois sharing in the Volkswagen emissions settlement. Cubs right the ship. White Sox blanked by the Twins, and a pleasant and sunny day ahead. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
To 41 people killed, 10 of them foreigners at one of the world's busiest airports. 239 others were wounded.
A big blast happened. It was very big and inside the airport terminal. They also said there was gunfire, but I didn't hear it.
The terrorists hit arrival and departure areas. Fox's Jessica Gallagher is live in our Middle East bureau.
Dave, world leaders are offering their condolences after 3 attackers armed with weapons used taxis to drive up to Istanbul's largest airport before blowing themselves up. Turkish officials say a Ukrainian and an Iranian among the 41 dead. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, but Turkey's prime minister is blaming ISIS. The Islamic insurgents have carried out violence in Turkey before, including a dual suicide bombing in Ankara that killed 100 people last year. Meanwhile, Ataturk Airport has partially reopened and workers are clearing up debris. Dave.
Jessica, the U.S. has condemned the Turkey terror attack. Hillary Clinton's calling for deeper cooperation with our allies. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee said it strengthens our resolve to defeat radical jihadism. Donald Trump says we have to fight fire with fire.
We have to be so strong.
The Republican in Ohio last night.
They said, what do you think about waterboarding? I said, I like it a lot, and I don't think it's tough enough.
Trump was also forceful on trade, calling the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal a rape of our country. European leaders are meeting in Brussels to discuss the future of their bloc of nations now that the British vote has been to leave the EU. EU leaders say there will be no cherry-picking of advantageous trade deals for the UK. The Italian Navy has raised a migrant ship that sank last year off Sicily. It was in 1,200 feet of water. Some 700 refugees were on board and killed. Most of them were locked below deck, trapped. This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Sunshine this morning. We have 57 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Governor Bruce Rauner pushing a stopgap budget to fund schools, universities, and state services amid an ongoing tussle with Democrats who run the General Assembly. Republican Tuesday tore into a Democratic plan to fund schools in the new fiscal year that begins Friday, repeating criticism that it amounts to a bailout of the Chicago public schools. The Democratic-controlled General Assembly is scheduled to meet this morning to discuss that school funding plan and funding other state programs and continue negotiations with the Republican governor. A 3-year-old boy and a woman hurt. They were shot on Chicago's South Side near 64th and King Drive. This morning, both victims are hospitalized in stable condition. Authorities are trying to figure out what caused a 7-year-old Park Ridge girl to die after attending a cheerleading camp Monday. Kate Babbage became ill during the camp at Maine South High School. The child was taken to a nearby hospital where she was later pronounced dead. 30,000 Volkswagen and Audi owners in Illinois in line for part of the settlement over the company's admitted faking of diesel emissions tests. AM 560's David Stewart has details.
Volkswagen admitted that some of their cars had software that cheated emissions testing. Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan says the settlement includes $150 million in restitution for Illinois consumers.
There are nearly 30,000 cars that were sold or leased that are affected. It impacts model years from 2009 through 2015, and they are 2-liter Volkswagen and Audi diesel engine cars.
Vehicle owners will get at least $5,100 and a choice between a vehicle buyback and a modification to that emission system. David Stewart, Chicago.
Cubs over Cincinnati 7-2 in 15 innings of work. Chris Bryant with the game-winning single. Javi Baez a grand slam. Brian Dozier homered twice and drove in 4 in the Twins win over the White Sox. London Olympics star Missy Franklin will not defend her gold medal in the 100-meter backstroke. Franklin finishing 7th, more than a second behind Olympic trials winner Olivia Smoliga of Glenview last night.
It was an honor to be in that heat with Natalie and Missy and to race them, and just having them having to swim against Olympians was definitely a huge motivation, and it's been my dream to be right here, to be an Olympian, so I'm just really excited about that.
Smoliga went to Glenbrook South High School and was a state champion there. The news, a service of Napa Auto Parts, more than 400,000 quality parts and over 90 years of experience. Napa can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store. Keep it running longer, stronger with Napa know-how. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
What is this nonsense?
The Joe Walsh Show.
Time magazine had uncovered a question. Why did 49 people die? Why, are you serious? 49 innocent people lost their lives in Orlando because a Muslim terrorist killed them. There's your answer, you stupid media.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
Thousands of people are choosing to drive with Uber. That's where the riders are. So drivers have less downtime, are busier making more trips, earning more money.
I choose to drive with Uber because of the money and flexibility. I'm my own boss. I get to do what I want, when I want, and still earn extra money. Driving with Uber is the smartest thing I've done.
Earn the extra money you need. Just an hour or two a day and the money adds up fast when you drive with Uber. Get started today. Take 2 minutes and sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
6:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Let's get the latest on the ride to work with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. In downtown Chicago, Jackson is now closed between Columbus and Lakeshore Drive to set up for Taste of Chicago, which starts next Wednesday. Kennedy inbound has delays from the River Road toll to Cumberland. 21 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 20. Edens is clear, inbound Eisenhower. 44 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, outbound 30. Northbound I-55, slow Weber to before 355 with a crash in the right lane. And more delays start up at Lamont Road. It's already 1 hour from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. 43 minutes from the Tri-State, outbound clear. Ryan, 25 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 30 minutes, I-80 to the Verge. Bishop 420, traffic service. Burger King's Classic Grill Dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try a Classic Grill Dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is go to Burger King. Ask for the $1 deal on the Classic Grilled Dog. At participating Burger King restaurants, limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Providing the right climate for business since 1935, here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Market Overdrive with Carla Mina, a power hour of real estate trends, secrets, and advice. Heard every Saturday afternoon at 1.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
In the end, it was political concerns that drove this. The evidence strongly shows that, and that's what we outline in our report.
If there's a failure of information, she was fairly definitive in certain statements she made to other people privately. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't like, I can't answer that question, Mr. Egyptian political leader, we don't know. She was pretty definitive.
I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, again, just updating the numbers on that Islamic terrorist attack at the Ataturk International Airport in Istanbul yesterday. 3 suicide bombers, 41 dead, 239 injured. Third terrorist attack in Istanbul this year. A car bomb early June killed 12. What to make of this? President Erdogan, Turkish President Erdogan, calling on the Western world to unite in their fight against terrorism. What can he do to help us help him? Let's put that question to our friend Bill Roggio. He's the editor of the Long War Journal at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. Always a pleasure.
So why don't we start there? Erdogan's call for assistance combating terror from the Western world. his support of the Western world has ebbed and flowed a bit. So what can he do in Turkey to help us with radical Islamic terror in that part of the world?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing he could do is be consistent in targeting all terrorist groups. I kind of liken Turkey to Pakistan in that it's selective in what radical Islamist groups it chooses to target. So, for instance, in Pakistan, the Pakistani state will target the Pakistani Taliban, which attacks it, and other groups, but it leaves alone the groups that operate outside its borders and basically conduct its foreign policy. The Afghan Taliban, Lashkar-e-Taiba, groups like that are attacking Afghanistan and India. So Turkey does a similar thing. It doesn't like the Islamic State because it attacks it. It doesn't like, groups like the PKK, which is the Kurdistan Workers' Party. It's not even an Islamic terrorist group, just a sort of a Marxist terrorist group.
That's kind of a separatist group, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's listed by the U.S. as a terrorist organization, so it is a legitimate terrorist group. Yet it turns a blind eye to a group like the Al-Nusra Front, which even though it designated, it does nothing against, or its ally Ahrar al-Sham, which is basically a stalking horse for al-Qaeda. It's a political or military front for al-Qaeda inside Syria. So they can start by being more consistent in how they apply pressure to terrorist groups within its borders.
So we know it was, 3 suicide bombers. It was a coordinated attack, ISIS-style attack. Has ISIS, come forward and claim responsibility for this?
No, there has been. This is odd. There has been no claim of responsibility for this attack as of yet. And rest assured, if the Islamic State, if they conducted this attack, they're quite aware of it. They would know that this type of operation was going to be occurring in Turkey because of the repercussions. Now, there was a suicide attack in March that was conducted by a female, and that was conducted by a group called the Kurdish Falcons, which is an offshoot of the PKK. So when we see terrorist attack like this inside Turkey, you kind of got to wait for that claim of responsibility. It looks and smells like an Islamic State or Al-Qaeda style attack because you have what I call the suicide assault. You have multiple attackers using firearms and suicide vests or car bombs, things of that nature. But we don't have that claim yet, and we're hitting that 24-hour period where I would really expect the Islamic State to have issued a claim for an operation of this magnitude.
It's reminiscent of the attack in the Brussels airport.
Yeah.
Right, I suppose the question is, are there other groups, other terrorist organizations that have the capacity and the desire to replicate what ISIS terrorists did in Brussels?
Yeah, absolutely. The Al-Nusra Front certainly could do this inside Turkey, which is Al-Qaeda's branch in Syria. Al-Qaeda also has a presence inside Turkey as well. They certainly have the capacity to do this, but they're not going to bite the hand that somewhat feeds them, in the sense that the Turkish government doesn't. Basically leaves them alone. So they're not going to go ahead and conduct an attack like this. It just doesn't make sense. All it does is bring unwanted and unneeded pressure on them. And then, as far as we had mentioned the Kurdish Falcons, they've conducted suicide attacks. And obviously, they have the capacity to build suicide bombs and employ them and get people to kill themselves as well. But yeah, this really does look like the Islamic State, but. You can't be 100% certain until that claim comes in and perhaps some corroborating evidence as well.
That airport in Istanbul is the 11th busiest airport in the world. I mean, people fly there to go into Syria to join ISIS. Are you surprised that they were able to pull off such an attack?
No, terrorist groups have been able to pull off attacks in Istanbul and elsewhere throughout Turkey with somewhat regularity. And an attack like this happens before you get past security, and just like in Brussels, anytime I go into an airport, I just think of how terrifying. You want to get past that security gate as quick as possible because there really is nothing stopping someone from, getting through that first layer of security.
And one of the bombers was in the baggage claim area, correct? And the other 2 were at departures, or what do you know? You know what? I didn't get any details as to where exactly they conducted the attacks.
I hadn't seen that reported yet.
And so, what should the American response be beyond the, empathetic rhetoric to another incident on the scale of what we're seeing out of Istanbul?
The biggest problem I have with this our entire war is that we don't have a strategy. We failed to define the nature of the enemy, and until we define what the enemy is, what they're about, what their ideology is about, what drives them, what makes them tick, until we do that, it's just impossible to come up with an effective strategy. And here we are 15 years after 9/11, and I'm making a statement like that, and that really is pathetic. Once we do define the nature of the enemy and what it is, we need to aggressively tackle it in all its theaters, deny its safe havens so that it could plot, plan, and execute attacks like this. It's that simple.
John Brennan, CIA director, said last week, before Congress that ISIS's footprint is shrinking, and more evidence of that this week, the announcement that Fallujah had been retaken from ISIS. But its capacity for acts of global terrorism has not shrunk at all. So what does that say about the current strength of ISIS if they're losing territory, but they're still able to orchestrate or be part of terrorist attacks if they were in this case, like what we saw yesterday?
Right, and because and this also applies to Al-Qaeda as well. Despite the fact that these groups are losing territory or have lost territory recently, they still control far, far more territory than they had on 9/11. So on 9/11, you had the Taliban control of Afghanistan, and Al-Qaeda had safe haven there. And then you had various spots where there was Al-Qaeda was in a cellular network, didn't control territory. Controlling territory is important because that's where you could train your recruits for attacks like things like this in Istanbul that took place yesterday. Today, Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, I'm just going to lump them together because they're the two sides of the same jihadist coin. They had control territory in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Mali, Libya, and I could go on. Egypt, in the Sinai in Egypt, I could go on.
Somalia,
and on.
Yeah, right. You mentioned Somalia.
So when you have that, this is the irony of the entire Obama administration's statements and policy with respect to Al Qaeda and the Islamic State is that they keep claiming success, and yet these groups continue to grow and gain more territory because our leadership is treating these as terrorist groups when they're not. They're networked insurgencies that seek to control territory and impose its will. They don't exist just to conduct terrorist attacks.
I mean, how can we stop them?
We have to look. This enemy is fighting a long game. It's fighting a multi-generational war, and we're trying to fight wars on political timetables of 4 years. So we need to be committed. We need to properly define the enemy. We need to be willing to do the hard things like put U.S. troops on the ground when needed. And we need to work closely with allies in order to get them to do it. And we need to tackle this, the ideology of groups like the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. We refuse to do this. And when we continue to treat them as criminals and murderers, and they are those things, but they're much, much more.
Before we let you go, I want to get your comment on the Benghazi report. I don't know if you've had a chance to digest all 800 pages, but certainly the highlights or lowlights, as it were. And are you in the camp of the Washington Post, the New York Times now, where finally the report is out, so finally we can conclusively absolve Hillary Clinton of all wrongdoing or judgment errors and just focus on her 2 terms as president?
I mean, that certainly is what the New York Times and the Washington Post seems to want to do. But look, I think that most of I even haven't had a chance to read the entire report, but everything that was in that I can understand that was in the report, it pretty much has been out already. And if you ask me, what's been out already has been very unflattering to Hillary Clinton. But I think this is one of the cases where where disclosing all this information beforehand hurts those who wanted to sting Hillary Clinton, because when you leak it out over a little and a little at a time, it just sort of becomes unofficial and rumor, and then the report comes out and everyone goes, yeah, well, we knew most of this, so who cares?
All right, Bill Roggio, editor of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's Long War Journal. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. You guys have a great day.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up, Trump on trade. But first, here's your forecast. Plenty of sunshine. We're going to have just a string of spectacular days. A high today of 78. Tonight, no AC. You can open up those windows, turn on the fan. It's a low in the 50s. And tomorrow, partly sunny skies, even warmer, a high near 81 degrees. Let's get those travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. Eden's inbound, just a little heavy approaching the junction. 20 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 19. Kennedy, 22 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 21. The Eisenhower has stop-and-go traffic, Wolf to First Avenue. 44 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, outbound 31. I-55, slow Weber to before 355 with a crash in the right lane. And with the delay starting up again at Lamont Road, it's 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound it's fine. The Ryan, looking at 25 minutes, 95th to downtown, I-57, 35 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop Ford much lighter. Northbound Tri-State slow from Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve, real heavy there. The other tollways are still good. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
If you suffer sinus congestion, trouble breathing through your nose, which gets worse when you lie down, facial pain, and sinus infections, antibiotics, nasal sprays, and steroids can only do so much. I'm Dr. Robert Deitch, and excited to tell you that recent advances in our field have opened exciting new doors. We're leading experts in a newer procedure called balloon sinus dilation that gently expands your natural sinus openings to fix underlying drainage problems. It takes 15 minutes and is performed in our office. Balloon sinus dilation is minimally invasive using local anesthesia and best of all delivers immediate and long-lasting relief. We're board-certified ENT specialists who can help you avoid expensive hospital visits and long recovery times.
For immediate and long-lasting relief from your sinus problems, call ENT Associates today at 847-882-5888 or visit nosinusproblems.com. That's ENT Associates at 847-882-5888 or online at nosinusproblems.com.
Change in the market shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. In fact, since World War II, we've seen a correction on average about once every 18 months. That's why Arlington Capital Management developed proprietary tools that help them to see what's beyond your investment horizon. Like an experienced ship captain uses tools to avoid stormy weather, Arlington Capital Management uses tools to guide you through market corrections before it's too late and help us decide when to capitalize on opportunity. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 to learn how their active management systems can help you. Each day, they actively explore the market, our economy, and all the variables that affect your investments. Stormy markets never cloud their vision. The professionals at Arlington Capital Management use their tools and experience to guide them. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 for a financial review. The number again is 855-471-5796 or learn more at arlington-capital.com.
When I hear realtors boast about servicing a 3-county area or selling a home every 15 minutes, I think, what level of service could their clients possibly be getting? This is Chris Jacobs with Century 21 affiliated in Inverness, and my message is a little bit different. If being a realtor for more than 20 years has taught me one thing, it's that all real estate is local. While I can't say I'm the #1 realtor in the country, I can tell you that over the past 10 years, I've sold more homes in Inverness than anyone else. My team specializes in Inverness, Palatine, and Arlington Heights. We pride ourselves on providing our clients exceptional customer service and local market knowledge. So if you're selling your home or looking to purchase a property in our area, then call me, Chris Jacobs, at 847-401-4859. That's 847-401-4859. Or visit us at chrisjacobshomes.com.
Each office independently owned and operated, an equal housing opportunity.
Know that sound? That's the sound of trouble for CPAP users. Did you know that just one drop of water in your CPAP system can become a breeding ground for mold and bacteria? Breathe that stuff in and you're battling respiratory infections, allergy attacks, and more. But here's good news. SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It's the healthier way to clean your system because it kills 99.9% of germs in minutes. For a limited time, you can try it risk-free for 30 days. Just call 1-800-500-2395. SoClean makes cleaning your CPAP a breeze. It's completely hands-free. Just pop in your mask, close the lid, and presto, your CPAP system is clean and fresh in minutes. Don't let one drop of water wreak havoc on your body. Call SoClean.com now for your risk-free trial while supplies last. 1-800-500-2395. That's 1-800-500-2395.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy. So, Amy, I'm going to test you here. Who said this? Who said the following?
Oh. I don't want to play, but okay.
You're going to play.
But only if you give me a cheat sheet. Write it down who said it, and then ask me who said it.
No, listen. You're going to be familiar with this.
No, I'm not.
The same forces that gave the Leave proponents a majority in Britain should sound an alarm. Millions of American voters, like the Leave supporters, are understandably angry and frustrated by the economic forces that are destroying the middle class.
Donald Trump.
Bernie Sanders.
Oh!
Bernie Sanders in an op-ed in the New York Times entitled "Democrats Need to Wake Up," sounding very much like a Republican nominee for president who was in Pennsylvania yesterday.
But if we're going to deliver real change, we're going to have to reject the campaign of fear and intimidation being pursued by powerful corporations, media elites, and political dynasties. The people who rigged the system for their benefit will do anything and say anything to keep things exactly the way they are. The people who rigged the system are supporting Hillary Clinton because they know as long as she is in charge, nothing's going to change.
I think it's nice. Bernie Sanders was parroting some of what Donald Trump has been saying, and Donald Trump parroted much of what Bernie Sanders said throughout his primary campaign against Hillary.
You know, I found out this morning, real quick ancillary issue topic. Bernie Sanders still trying to raise money this morning on his website. He hasn't thrown in the towel just yet.
No, of course
still
not.
getting Secret Service protection to the tune of $37,000 a day.
If your opponent was under,
who's trying to kill that guy?
If your opponent was under federal investigation, would you hang around and just see what happens?
You know what?
I would.
That's a good point, DP. Thank you.
Once in a while, I stumble into an insight.
Duly noted.
So Trump on trade. He had a couple of things to say. He's got a 7-point plan to reform NAFTA and stop WTO, World Trade Organization, cheaters, as he calls them. But just
you don't like his plan, do you?
Not really. I don't like. I'm an opponent of protectionist policies, and Trump went through chapter and verse on protectionism. It was basically protectionist econ talk 101, and those are bad economic policies. It pays in terms of economic growth and the creation of opportunity and support for entrepreneurial capitalists. It pays to be preemptively free trade, unilaterally free trade. And then if bilateral and multilateral trade agreements, okay, and the terms of them are relevant. Even Paul Ryan has suggested that there are things that could be improved with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Trump go a little bit stronger than Paul Ryan on the TPP.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership is another disaster, done and pushed by special interests who want to rape our country, just a continuing rape of our country. That's what it is, too. It's a harsh word. It's a rape of our country.
Yeah, so he's not on board with the TPP, in case you couldn't read between the lines there. And then this on NAFTA, renegotiate or full withdrawal.
America became the world's dominant economy by becoming the world's dominant producer. You know that from right here, right in this plant. The wealth this created was shared broadly, creating the biggest middle class the world has ever known. But then America changed its policy from promoting development in America, in America, to promoting development in other nations. That's what's happening, and that's what's happened. we allowed foreign countries to subsidize their goods, devalue their currencies, violate their agreements, and cheat in every way imaginable. And our politicians did nothing about it.
Yeah, he's right on stealing intellectual property. That's an issue. He's wrong on the rest of it.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you love the hunt, this is for you. I'm talking about the hunt for special antique collectibles, furniture, art, and decorative items that make your home sweet home special. A place where you'll discover Chicago's best kept treasures. Northwest Treasure and sister store Home on the Highway are just a block apart on Northwest Highway on Chicago's northwest side. In addition to an amazing selection of antique collectibles and furniture with a mid-century modern focus, you'll find vintage jewelry, decorative items, art, and loads of man cave. Mention AM 560 and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Northwest Treasure and Home on the Highway are conveniently located at 6122 and 6217 Northwest Highway in Chicago, close to Chicago's nicest neighborhoods and Park Ridge. And there's plenty of free parking. Call Northwest Treasure and Home on the Highway, home of Chicago's best kept treasures, at 773-774-6353. For more information, call 773-774-7653.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Switching gears to a discussion of our local, statewide political overlords, we're going to talk about remap reform, redistricting reform, as a way to turn out the political class and have more competitive elections in Illinois. That's at 6:36.
But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, we have sunshine this morning. 62 degrees at 6:31, and Turkish officials say Istanbul's airport is now reopened just hours after a terror attacks left at least 40 dead, some 160 wounded. Fox's Amy Kellogg has details on the reopening of Ataturk Airport.
The attack, which has been roundly condemned around the world as heinous and cowardly, cynically coming towards the end of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. 3 suicide bombers rode up in taxis, opened fire in the Istanbul airport before blowing themselves up. Eyewitnesses say they simply didn't know where to run for cover.
People were shooting on one side, and we all ran the other way, and then the bombs went off. And people started running the other way, and there's more shooting.
While it's being blamed on IS, they have not claimed responsibility.
Democrat Hillary Clinton said the attacks strengthened resolve in the fight against terror. Republican Donald Trump reacted, saying the world is stunned and horrified.
There's something going on that's really, really bad. All right? It's bad. And we better get smart, and we better get tough. Well, we're not going to have much of a country left, okay?
The final report of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, critical of the Obama administration, including former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, South Carolina Republican Trey Gowdy.
At the time those 2 Americans were killed, not a single wheel of a single U.S. military asset had even turned toward Libya.
Wheaton Republican Peter Roskam said the State Department ignored repeated requests for more security before the Benghazi attacks. This morning, Toyota announcing a recall of 1.5 million hybrid Prius and Lexus cars 2010 to 2012 over a possible airbag inflator defect. Governor Bruce Rauner continues pushing a stopgap budget to fund schools. The Democratic-controlled General Assembly is scheduled to meet later today to discuss the plan for school funding and a state budget proposal. A woman is dead, struck by a CTA Red Line train. Fire officials say the incident happened last night underground at the Jackson station near State and Jackson. And residents of a Wheeling trailer park are a step closer to settling their lawsuit against the village. They were forced to relocate 3 years ago. Residents of Fox Point Mobile Home Park near the Des Plaines River were moved out after the village declared that a flood had left many of the homes uninhabitable. Under a deal approved by the Des Plaines Village Board, each family would receive $20,000 to $30,000 to drop charges of discrimination. Cubs over Cincinnati in 15 innings, 7-2. Minnesota beat the White Sox 4-0. The news, a service of Burger King's classic grilled hot dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try a classic grilled dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is go to Burger King. Ask for the $1 deal on the classic grilled dog at participating Burger King restaurants. Limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. 6:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
There's a lot going on in the world. A crazy election, international terrorism, a rocky economy, a state budget crisis. Meanwhile, you're busy. Too busy to wait for some goofy talk show host at another radio station to finish talking about last night's baseball game or yesterday's viral internet video. You need information and what it means. Now, you need answers. That's why we're here with only the news, opinion, and insight you need. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mark Weingart, President and CEO of Star Creations, Inc., the fastest growing supplier of wall decor products in the U.S. When it comes to banking, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. That's why I bank at Signature Bank Chicago. At Signature Bank, every customer is important. I know I can pick up the phone and talk to any one of the decision makers I know and trust at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, they understand and respond to the unique needs of my business with flexibility and fairness. I'm proud to bank with Signature Bank because I know they're deeply invested in the success of Star Creations.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you suffering with hearing loss? Are you sick of people constantly complaining that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to speak up? Would you like to hear more clearly, but you don't want to wear a hearing aid that makes you look old? Then you need to try Listen Clear, a life-changing breakthrough precisely designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. And you can adjust Listen Clear to find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And right now you can try Listen Clear absolutely free with free shipping. We'll even give you free batteries for life. So call now, 1-800-300-0868. Listen Clear is lightweight and completely hassle-free, and it's practically invisible. Call for your 100% free home trial with free shipping and free batteries for life. For free information, call now, 1-800-300-0868. That's 1-800-300-0868. 1-800-300-0868.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I had gout in both my knees, and it's gone.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my. It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life.
He had eczema on his hand, and it cracked for years. He did anything from doctor, every cream, everything. And 3 months on the veggies and fruit, it was gone.
They're just awesome. They keep asking me, what am I doing? I told them what I did with my cholesterol. I had the blood test, right? And it went down 100 points. 262, now it's 162. Everything is just perfect.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
6:38 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Edens, traffic is heavy approaching the junction. We're looking at 22 minutes. Make that 27 minutes. Time just jumped. The delays start at Niles Center. 27 minutes, Lake Hook to Montrose. Outbound 21. The Kennedy, 32 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 28. The Ike, 55 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 44. Stevenson, 55 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 40. Ryan, 27 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, slow Archer to LaGrange Road. From the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis and Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue Curve. Eastbound Adams Tollway now heavy. Bartlett Road to 53. Traffic is a service of Napa Auto Parts. With more than 400,000 quality parts and over 90 years of experience, Napa can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer, stronger with Napa know-how. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Pleasant day ahead, warmer, plenty of sunshine, high 78. Currently, we have 57 at O'Hare and 60 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 7, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Turnkey IT, giving you the freedom to focus on your business while they handle the technical stuff. Turnkey IT.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now, and make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, Amy, as you know, there are 177 seats in the General Assembly, 59 in the Senate, 118 in the House. But what percentage do you think are actually competitive elections? You know, these are a third of the Senate is up every 2 years, and all of the House. So
every 2 years. How many competitive seats are there?
On a percentage basis of the total number of seats that are up every 2 years.
I'd say 20%.
Yeah, that's about right. That's
Okay.
about right. So it's a fraction of the seats that are actually competitive elections. And if you have mostly Soviet-style elections, do you cease to have functioning government? Well, Illinois could be a pretty strong argument.
I can't remember the last time somebody challenged John Cullerton, my state senator.
Right. Right. I mean, and the way part is, it's not necessarily just trying to recruit good candidates to run against terrible politicians in office. Sometimes you get good candidates. You know, a lot of talented people in these city districts, for example. But the way that the boundaries are drawn, they're drawn specifically to keep incumbents in power, or at least to keep the incumbent party in a particular district in power, even if they change out the functionary. And so the move to take the mapping process, the gerrymandering process, away from the politicians, so they can't gerrymander anymore, and to go to an independent commission. Not that there are not issues with this, but we're going to discuss that. To go to an independent commission that would draw the boundaries, ostensibly based on the standards the Supreme Court has set forth with proper boundary drawing for electoral districts, contiguousness, compactness, respect for municipal boundaries.
So they take the redistricting away from the General Assembly and the governor, and you'd have a commission do it.
Right, and so you wouldn't get, for example, these districts that have become rather infamous, thinking about it at the federal level, like Luis Gutierrez's Horseshoe District, right, that just goes around the city gathering little enclaves of Latino voters to make sure that's a majority Latino district.
And I used to be in the 9th District because Sid Yates had a condo on Lakeshore Drive. So then when he finally got out of office and Jan Schakowsky took over, that's when we became the 5th District.
Sid Yates is a good example because you know how he got out of office? He died. That's how he got out of office after serving about half a century. All right. Well, for more on this topic, we're now joined by Rod Joy, who is the executive director of Change Illinois, which is leading this independent map amendment effort, trying to get an initiative on the November ballot so that Illinois voters can vote on the matter. And being challenged in court by representatives, at least in part, of Mike Madigan. So that should also tell you something about who's on.
Good luck.
Well, who's on which side tells you something about. Well, it also tells you something about kind of who is on the side of the Angels and who is not. I would suggest. Ra, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dan and Amy.
So tell us what this independent map amendment, if it were enacted and the idea was inculcated into the law, what it would do and how it would change the system from what it is now.
Well, we think it's time to push back against the political power brokers and give more muscle to the voters of Illinois. And that's precisely what the independent map amendment would do. It would take the power to draw state legislative districts away from politicians and give it instead to an independent nonpartisan commission. It's something that President Obama, in his approach to building a better politics, held up as an important step toward a more responsive and reflective democracy. It's something that's worked in other states, including California and Arizona, and it's something that we're really close to putting before the voters on November 8th.
Let me ask you something about that independent commission, though. So then you get into who makes appointments to the independent, bipartisan or post-partisan, however you want to describe it, commission, always the opportunities for influence in Chicago and Illinois.
Yeah, what we want to remind people is the status quo is a disaster. And compared to the status quo, the independent map amendment is a huge step toward more meaningful political participation in Illinois. Right now, we rank dead last when it comes to public confidence in state government, according to a recent Gallup poll. I think perhaps the most glaring example of our political dysfunction is this epic state budget stalemate, which is causing real pain for real people all across the state.
Yeah, but I agree, and I concede all of those points. But who would make appointments to the commission?
So basically, in this again is modeled after a successful approach in California. The Auditor General would select a 3-person panel, who then would select members of the commission from a pool of 100 applicants. This panel would include Democrats, Republicans, and independents. It also would be set up in a way that ensures that the commission reflects both the demographic and geographic diversity of the state. And again, compare that to how the map-making process unfolds right now. And I think, Dan, in your setup, you did a good job of giving voice to the current system. And right now, the current system eliminates competition, it erodes public trust, and it all but guarantees incumbent power. We have a small handful of political insiders making backroom deals with absolutely no public participation or transparency. And the amendment would be a complete opposite approach where it's open to the public. All of the business of the commission would happen in the light of day. It is set up to end the partisan gerrymandering that exists today. And contrary to some chatter out there, this effort would really empower and protect all voters in Illinois from every color, religion, and ethnic background, which is something that does not exist in the current system.
So African Americans are maybe slightly overrepresented in the Illinois House and Senate, but there's less Latino and Asians than our Illinois population represents. How do you change the maps to get more Asians and Latinos in the House?
Well, I think that's it's important to have representative democracy. And again, going back to California, there were a lot of concerns that switching to an independent commission would somehow threaten the hard-fought-for voting rights protections of communities of color. And in California, there was a 50% increase in majority-minority districts, and that provided a big boost, especially for Latino representation. When it comes to protecting the interests of communities of color, there are 3 things specifically that the independent map amendment would do. First, it includes really strong language spelling out that minority representation would not and could not be diluted or diminished. The second thing the amendment would do is it embeds important protections from the Federal Voting Rights Act into the Illinois Constitution. And then the third component is it spells out that the makeup of the commission itself needs to reflect the demographic and geographic diversity of the state.
I understand the politics. I got to tell you, though, all of this, a black man can't represent me as president? Of course he can. I just wish it was Alan West and not Barack Obama. And a white person can represent black people, and a Latino person can represent white people. All this stuff about it's it's intrinsically racist. You're basically saying only a black can represent a black community, a Latino can represent. Nonsense. It's just nonsense. It doesn't take away from the independent map. I just had to make that statement because I'm so sick of the racial politics in this city and state. But, Rob, before we let you go, you're in a court battle. You want to put this before the voters, and who's blocking you, and how does this play out, and when does it play out?
Well, while the status quo has failed us, the status quo does have its defenders.
Yes.
And so a group called the People's Map has filed a motion in court suggesting that the language of the amendment does not fit the structural and procedural requirements to amend the state constitution. So there are oral arguments that will happen tomorrow in circuit court in front of Judge Diane Larson. We are optimistic that this time around the amendment will pass constitutional muster. In 2014, Judge Mary Mitva provided some good guidance in her ruling that the lawyers for the independent map amendment have taken to heart. So, we really see this as a call to action for everyone who cares about building a better politics and creating a more effective government in Illinois. And we're eager to get this in front of voters in November.
All right. He's Rod Joy. Going up against the institutional cartographers in Springfield, the executive director of Change Illinois. And Rod, just real quickly, who is the lawyer representing your opponents? Isn't it Mike Madigan's election attorney?
That's correct. And
Yeah.
we try not to hate the players. We just want to fundamentally change the game. But Michael Casper is the lead attorney representing the People's Map.
We'll do the hating of the players for you.
Yeah.
Rod Joy, executive director of Change Illinois. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. Take care.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Just a string of gorgeous days. Absolutely not a cloud in the sky. Today, a high of 78, 58 right now at O'Hare. And then tonight, another crisp, cool evening, a low of 59 degrees. And tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, a high 81. Travel times, here's Jim Telemonte.
And they're getting a little uglier now, Amy. On the Kennedy, delays are from the River Road to Old Central and Kimball to Sacramento. It's 33 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Quicker in the Express. Outbound 45 minutes to the airport. Edens, 28 minutes. Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound 22. The Eisenhower, 55 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 44. Stevenson is an hour from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 45 minutes. The Ryan, 27 minutes. 95th to downtown. I-57, 30 minutes. I-80 to the Merge, but Bishop Ford is light. Northbound Tri-State delays. Archer to LaGrange Road. From the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis. From Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue Curve. Reagan Tollway slow. From the Aurora Toll to Farnsworth and 83 to the Tri-State. I'm Jim Talamonte of the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Last week, we announced our upcoming Cigar Night event with Dennis Prager and me, presented by Precision Payroll of America. Yay, Tom Sedeka. Tickets have been on sale for a week, and we're almost sold out. In fact, we've completely sold out of the premium VIP tickets, but we still have general admission tickets available for just $29. So join us at the Bolingbrook Golf Club on Thursday, August 11th. Enjoy a fine cigar, perhaps a mature libation, and engage in lively conversation with myself and Dennis Prager. Check out the interviews I've done at upstream-ideas.com, including this week's with Steve Moore, Trump economic advisor. For a taste of what this event will look like, tickets are just $29. Everyone who attends will have the chance to meet Dennis Prager and have him sign copies of his books. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Or text the word cigar to 64636. Sponsored by Signature Bank and the Elmhurst Cigar House.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Investors will be looking at a number of new key reports on the economy today. 2,500 jobs being slashed by Dow Chemical and IKEA announcing a big recall. Those stories next.
Bill Bennett here to tell you about Augusta Precious Metals. What if you could store your IRA or 401k where you can see, touch, and hold it in person in the form of physical gold and silver coins? I know I would, and you can't do that with stocks. With the Augusta Gold and Silver IRA, you can transfer retirement savings into physical coins and store them where you can actually see them. Free shipping, zero management fees, and Augusta pays all upfront costs. Getting started is absolutely free. Rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Enjoys a 98% 5-star customer satisfaction rating with TrustLink.org. Trust Augusta. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993 now for your free guide to Augusta Gold IRAs. Call toll-free 1-855-222-6993. That's 1-855-222-6993 or visit AugustaPreciousMetals.com.
A number of key snapshots on the economy today. The government releasing updates on mortgage applications, personal income, and pending home sales. And this afternoon, we'll have the latest news on farm prices. Swedish retailer IKEA recalling 29 million chests and dressers that can tip over easily, apparently, trapping young children. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says American consumers, particularly parents of young children, need to contact IKEA quickly because the danger is very serious. Dow Chemical eliminating 2,500 jobs worldwide. It's closing some plants in advance of its merger with DuPont. Among the facilities that Dow will close is a silicone manufacturing plant in Greensboro, North Carolina. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight, 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
With ChicagoRadioDeals.com, seeing is believing, and you have to see the deal from Vision One LASIK Center. Get LASIK surgery on both eyes at their state-of-the-art center in Lombard for only $1,750. Now, this is a $3,800 value. Start with a consultation at any of the Vision One LASIK centers in Arlington Heights, Chicago, or Lombard. Vision One is a private practice with LASIK specialists Dr. Brand, Dr. Martin, and my favorite, Dr. Berger. Hey, are you ready for this hot deal? Bikram Yoga of Rolling Meadows has a 10-class package at their beautiful studios on Hicks Road. Bikram Yoga, a series of 26 yoga postures and 2 breathing exercises taught in a 90-minute class in a 105-degree setting. You'll be sure to sweat. Now, this package retails for $130, but get this, it's only $50 at ChicagoRadioDeals.com. And look into open group training for your child, athlete, or adult boot camp classes for your best body from MFC Sports Performance in Darien. All these healthy deals and much more can be found only at ChicagoRadioDeals.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Are you in foreclosure, behind in the mortgage, underwater with a mortgage? Well, you'd be not alone. In fact, there's 20 million other American families in the same boat as you. And this came about not because these families decided to commit bank fraud, because they were the victims of fraud by the Wall Street investment bankers and the banks that now service the mortgages. But there are some things you do. My partner, I'm Lou Bridges, my partner Scott O and I have put together a firm, a team of people to help people like you. We apply for modifications, we defend a foreclosure, we apply a restructuring, we explore a short sale, and investors who may buy the home and lease it back to you. But whatever your objectives are, you need to have a competent legal counsel. But whatever you do, people, never give up the land. Fight for truth and justice. You do that, and I guarantee you will never be alone. Call us for a free consultation.
Call 224-513-1231 or visit FightIllinoisForeclosures.com. That's 224-513-1231 or FightIllinoisForeclosures.com.
Hi, I'm Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, and I'm here to tell you about an amazing new way you can start losing weight for free right now. You've probably seen our workout DVDs on TV like P90X, Insanity, and 21 Day Fix. We just launched a beta trial of our new digital video platform, Beachbody On Demand. So while we're testing out this new digital video service, I'm inviting you to use it for free for 30 days. That means you can lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, even 30 pounds without paying a dime. Text the word TRIAL to 303030, and you can do 30 days of P90X, Insanity, or any of over 400 workouts for free. Now here's the catch. In return, all I ask is you let us know what you think of the service so we can make Beachbody On Demand the best fitness and weight loss site ever created. Just text TRIAL to 303030 and get started for free right now. Again, text TRIAL to 303030.
Message and data rates may apply. Membership fees apply after 30-day free trial. Cancel anytime.
Did you know that if you have mutual funds in your IRA, 401k, or investment accounts, that according to Forbes magazine, you could be paying as much as 3.17% in hidden fees every single year? 3.17% may not sound like much, but over 10 years, it's costing you 32%, whether your fund is up or down. Hi, it's Tom Fortino of the Alpha Wealth Group in Chicago and host of the Alpha Wealth Hour on AM 560. This is just one of the reasons I hate mutual funds, and you should too. You may not know this, but you have far more investment options today without the excessive fees. Learn what they are in my free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds. What you learn may shock you. To get your free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds, call 630-519-4742. There's no obligation. That's 630-519-4742.
Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Should the Simeon basketball team be taking taxpayer-funded trips to Memphis, Phoenix, Boston, San Francisco, and Dubai at 7:07?
And later, breaking down the Benghazi report with Congressman Peter Roskam. But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, the state budget battle continues to loom large in Springfield. Illinois sharing in the Volkswagen emissions settlement. And a pleasant and warm day ahead. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. It was chaotic amid the terror.
People were shooting on one side, and we all ran the other way. And then the bombs went off, and people started running the other way, and there's more shooting.
He survived that attack at Istanbul, Turkey's airport, one of the world's busiest, though it is partially back open today. Fox's Jessica Gallagher live in our Middle East Bureau.
Dave, Turkish officials are still trying to piece together how 3 suicide bombers managed to take a taxi to Istanbul's biggest airport and blow themselves up after coming under fire at the facility. At least 41 people are dead, including 10 foreign nationals. That's in addition to the attackers. At least 239 others are wounded. This is Ankara is going through surveillance footage and interviewing witnesses in an attempt to gather a preliminary timeline and more details about the attack. Meanwhile, Turkey's prime minister is blaming ISIS for the violence despite no immediate claim of responsibility. Dave.
Jessica, there's increased security at some U.S. airports like New York's JFK.
We have seen officers walking around in some tactical gear. In the other terminal, Terminal 1, that services Turkish Airlines, a much more police officers and a heightened security presence.
Teresa Priolo with Fox 5 TV. The White House has condemned the attack. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had different reactions to Istanbul. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Trump wants to bring back waterboarding and other controversial interrogation practices, saying the U.S. has to fight viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people.
They probably think we're weak, we're stupid, we don't know what we're doing, we have no leadership. You know, you have to fight fire with fire.
Trump made the comments last night at a rally in Ohio. Clinton says the attack strengthens the nation's resolve to defeat radical jihadism. Dave.
Rachel, Toyota is out with 2 recalls. 1.4 million vehicles have defective airbags. Nearly 3 million have faulty fuel emission controls. Some cars have both problems, but there are no injuries related to either issue. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Sunny and 59 degrees, 7:02 is our time on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Governor Bruce Rauner continues his push to get a stopgap budget funded that would help schools, universities, and other state services amid an ongoing fight with Democrats who run the General Assembly. A Republican yesterday tearing into a Democrat plan to fund schools, repeating it's a bailout of the Chicago public schools. Meantime, the flow of cash to local 911 centers and some state health services will stop this week if Illinois enters another year without a budget. The new fiscal year begins on Friday. Mayor Emanuel could be close to reaching a deal to save Chicago's largest employee pension fund. Sun-Times reports several ideas are being floated, including a property tax hike and a fee added onto water bills. 4 men are hurt following a shooting on Chicago's southwest side. Arguments broke out near the area of 16th and Christina. No arrests have been made. Authorities are searching for a shooter after a 3-year-old boy and a woman were hurt after they were shot on Chicago's south side near 64th and King Drive. Authorities are trying to figure out what caused a 7-year-old Park Ridge girl to die attending a cheerleading camp on Monday. Kate Babbage became ill during the camp at Maine South High School. President of the Chicago Police Union says city officers are facing a level of disrespect that has never been seen before. Dean Angelo was at the City Club of Chicago.
I can't wait for the city to release our body camera videos unedited so you get to see what they see and what they deal with.
He told the crowd that officers in parts of the city are confronted nearly every time they interact with the public. Illinois' share of a multi-state settlement with Volkswagen amounts to about $29 million over violations of state and federal law related to the German car makers cheating on diesel emissions testing. Cubs over Cincinnati 7-2 in 15 innings of work. Minnesota beat the White Sox 4-0. And the news, a service of Burger King's classic grilled hot dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try that classic grilled dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is go to Burger King and ask for the $1 deal on the classic grilled dog. at participating Burger King restaurants. Limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. 7:04, time to check the climate of your business with aircomfort.com. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. 7:04, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Most of America is just straight up car stupid.
The Dave Ramsey Show.
You fleece your car, acting like when you rented your car, you did a good deal. Give me a break. And the stupid thing loses 60 to 70% of its value when you buy a new one in the first 4 years that you drive it. So you turn $30,000 into $11,000 and then scratch your head and wonder why you can't get ahead financially. This is not hard to think about, people.
Dave Ramsey. Weeknights starting at 7. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
Thousands of people are choosing to drive with Uber. That's where the riders are. So drivers have less downtime, are busier making more trips, earning more money.
I choose to drive with Uber because of the money and flexibility. I'm my own boss. I get to do what I want, when I want, and still earn extra money. Driving with Uber is the smartest thing I've done.
Earn the extra money you need. Just an hour or two a day and the money adds up fast when you drive with Uber. Get started today. Take 2 minutes and sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
7:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. The latest with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the eastbound Eden Spur, traffic is slow from past Waukegan Road to the Edens. The delays resume around Devon. It's 25 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 28. The Kennedy now 35 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 20 from Montrose, 12 on the Express. Outbound 25 minutes to Montrose, 45 to O'Hare. The Eisenhower is an hour and 5 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, 52 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 41 to Thorndale. Stevenson an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound it's 45 minutes. The Ryan 30 minutes, 95th to the Loop. Tri-State, the delays are northbound in pockets, 111th to 47th. Ogden to 31st and Roosevelt to Grand Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway stop and go Bartlett Road to Barrington Road. Reagan Tollway delays from the Aurora Toll to Farnsworth and 83 to the Tri-State. Veterans Memorials, the 75th to the Reagan Tollway. Butterfield to St. Charles and Army Trail to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Today, a full day of sunshine with a high of 78. Clear night for tonight with a low 59. Then tomorrow, partial sunshine throughout the day with a high 81. Rain at night, low 62. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare, 59 along the lakefront. This morning it's 49 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Lou Bridges Show. Tune in on Saturday mornings at 8 to learn how you might fight foreclosure and keep your home.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
In the end, it was political concerns that drove this. The evidence strongly shows that, and that's what we outline in our report.
If there's a failure of information, she was fairly definitive in certain statements she made to other people privately. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't like, I can't answer that question. Mr. Egyptian political leader, we don't know. She was pretty definitive.
I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So Today is the day the General Assembly's in session. Hide your wallet. And the question is whether they'll get a stopgap budget that also includes education funding. Education funding to open the schools. There's an impasse between the governor and Democrat legislative leaders on the education side of it because Chicago Democrats in charge of the General Assembly are demanding a bailout for the Chicago public school system. And without any structural reforms, without any offer back, they're just demanding more money for CPS. Well, by the way, in the last 15 years, per pupil spending in CPS has increased by 37% in real terms, adjusted for inflation. Pension contributions by 618% in the last 15 years. I mean, maybe that's an area that could use some structural reform.
Well, it's such a big deal. Mike Madigan came out of hiding and spoke to reporters. God has spoken, and whenever he walks out and he wants to talk to reporters, they scurry like little mice.
Well, the legislative leaders met with the governor. He invited them over to the mansion last night. They had a talk, and they seemed to be close on all matters, not including education funding, because they're, a few $100 million apart in terms of more money for K through 12 education, which Rauner has proffered, but not the kind of just giveaway bailout of CPS that the Chicago Democrats want. So this is the impasse.
So the stopgap budget would fund roads, human services, and that's it, but it does not include education.
Through the first of the year, that's right. And, a lot of the editorial boards are opining. There's one in the Daily Herald today that actually is decent. I say that with
if you say that, that's good. They can live another day.
Well, I say that with appropriate surprise. Their editorial, enough time for leaders, lawmakers to quit the politics and produce a budget. Well, that's rather anodyne. I mean, this is a political process. So
you should just be in charge of every editorial board.
Yeah, I should be.
But throughout northern Illinois, maybe even the whole state.
The Western world.
Okay, excuse me.
They write, among other things, so this is an important part of the Daily Herald editorial. 2 years in a row, rather than produce a balanced budget that will require real practical spending restraints and let his party members stand accountable for them, House Speaker Mike Madigan has delivered a budget calling for billions of dollars more in spending than revenues will support. This year, the deficit $7 billion. And as heinous as such a brazen political act is, remember this, his members have let him do it. Hello, suburbanites in the collar counties in Northwest Cook County. Hello, his members have let him do it. No suburban Democrats, or downstate, or Chicago Democrats for that matter, have stood at the Speaker's doorstep and demanded, Mr. Speaker, this is an irresponsible act you are committing in your name. I protest. So think when you go to the ballot, when you go to the polling place in November, think about Scott Drury and Drac Franks and Stephanie Kifowit and Elaine Nekritz and Carol Sente and Melinda Bush and Julie Morrison and Laura Murphy and Mike Nolan. These Democrats in the suburbs, in the House and in the Senate, have done nothing except go along with the sham and the scams. Your local rep, in many cases, particularly if they're an acolyte of Mike Madigan or a useful idiot for Mike Madigan, and there's a combination of both of those in the list of names I just read, they are responsible. It's not just the boogeyman Mike Madigan. Here's an idea. Connect some frackin' dots. Suburbanites who see their local legislator at some Knights of Columbus event or what have you. Oh, he or she is really nice. Oh, I know her. Our kids play in the same Little League. Who cares? The issue is what they do when they go to Springfield. Goodness sakes. But on the matter of CPS bailout, we have some information that you'll only get on this show, Chicago's Morning Answer. And it's about how CPS spends money. And we talk a lot about the macro. You just heard some of my recitation of the macro numbers on per pupil spending and pensions and all that. What about the micro? What about just per school? What is going on in these schools? I've given you an example before, CPS, Fenger High School in the South Side, 111th and Wallace.
Yeah.
Built for 2,800 kids.
And what's their enrollment now, like 200?
About 315.
Yeah.
Every teacher.
We talked about them too at our LSC meeting.
But they still operate like there's 2,800 kids there, except there's not. There are 2,500 ghosts and 300 actual children.
Yeah, but Mayor Emanuel can't shut that school down because of political reasons.
Well, because
it's an African American community, and and you know what happened when that kid was walking home from Fenger High School. Got beaten and killed.
Darian Albert. Yeah, but what I don't know what that has to do with running this monstrosity.
I know. At least they should shut down the top floor and consolidate everything to the bottom floor.
Well, it's not making anybody safer.
No.
So and here,
it's political posturing.
Every teacher has 3 rooms at Fenger High School. They've got the classroom, they've got their break room, and they use a classroom for storage. That's how you operate a school system. Maybe that's how you operate an agrarian co-op during the Soviet era, but that's not how you're supposed to operate a classroom. I mean, a school, is it? And here's the other thing. Principals have these funds, Amy.
Yes.
They get disbursements, I guess, from the central authority, the Politburo there.
Yes, they do. Every school gets them.
Yeah, and it's based per pupil, right?
Uh-huh.
So let's talk about real numbers. I said
principal spending. Oh, this will be good.
I just said because we FOIA'd, me and my colleagues FOIA'd this information. So we've got all the schools, and there's 660 in CPS. I'm going to give you 3 examples. George Armstrong Elementary School.
Never heard of it.
Neil F. Simeon Vocational High School. Simeon.
Yes. Oh, everybody's heard of Simeon.
Well, of course. And I mean,
they produce some great basketball players.
I grew up on Simeon basketball. Going back all the way to Benji Wilson. May he rest in peace, to Derrick Rose. I mean, great basketball. So this is not antagonism. These are just examples. And another school you may have heard of, James G. Blaine. Have you heard of that school?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You have what our principal is spending at Blaine?
Oh, from 2014 to 2016. At George Armstrong Elementary, total principal spending, discretionary spending, $188,000. At Blaine, $290,000.
But on what though?
Oh, well, we'll get to that.
Okay, whoa, I can't wait.
At Simeon, $971,000.
Wow.
So that's That's 3 schools of 660. That's $1.4 million in discretionary principal spending at just 3 of those schools. You extrapolate that out, you're talking about $300 to $350 million in discretionary principal spending. Those are real dollars. That's the difference between the governor and legislative leaders right now, it turns out. So,
but what could you almost spend $1 million on at Simeon High School?
Well, let me tell you. In the last 2 years, Simeon High School, the last 3 budget years, I should say, 2014, 2015, 2016, so it's 3 years. In the last 2 years, they've spent $20,000 on pizza. $20,000 on pizza. That's a lot of pizza.
Where are they buying their pizza from?
They have taken trips to Dubai, to San Francisco. Dubai. The basketball team, I should say.
I want to be on the basketball team. Is it too late for me to try out for the Simeon basketball team?
I don't think you've got the chops.
Darn it.
But there are probably some people in your age group that attend Simeon. They've been there for a while. But a cosmetology trip to Atlanta. Well, that's $9,000. Chicago Wolves hockey games. Multiple trips to Six Flags.
Well, that's an incentive for students. I mean, I know if you got straight A's or if you had perfect attendance, one of your gifts from the principal was to either go to a Cubs game or to Great America.
Well, look, I get field trips and I get the pizza
programs.
Party or the flowers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I get it. We're talking about $970,000 over 3 years, and $20,000 in pizza. Studio Movie Grill in Chatham, $1,500. Studio Movie Grill in Chatham, $500. I don't remember my teachers taking me out for movies, or the group of us.
What if they're seeing the movie Benghazi or 13 Hours? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pierre Marquette Hotel in Peoria for the IHSA basketball championship, $6,500, 15 rooms. So what? Did they double up in the rooms, or is it everybody gets their own room?
Sounds like everyone got their own room.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to share. Well, we had fraudulent spending at Blaine before Troy LaRaviere got there. Our principal used to use principal spending on education junkets in Madrid, Spain. So that was one of the reasons, too, why they had enough with her, because she had spent a lot of money, which she could have used for programs for the children. And who needs to go to Madrid, Spain to learn how to be a principal?
The coach of Simeon, the basketball coach, Robert Smith,
Yeah.
$32,000 in reimbursements over the last 3 years. And, there's a lot of round numbers, too. Meal reimbursement, $1,500. Travel reimbursement, $1,800. It's like Frank Martino, our infamous Auditor General under federal investigations, the way he accounted and pointed.
Oh, that's right. He spent, what, $30,000 on pizza, right? Or something like that at his friends, or his relatives' restaurant.
I mean, this is Sony PlayStations, Nintendo Wii.
For who?
Right. Nintendo eShop prepaid card, Nintendo Super Smash Brothers Edition GameCube controller for Wii. These are like, $200, $250 a pop. PlayStation 4 Street Fighter, $60. I mean, is this okay? Is this
Is this normal behavior? Is this what, schools in the suburbs do, principals in the suburbs do? I don't know. Tell me about Blaine, though. What do we do?
You don't know?
Because we've had many fundraisers to help save teachers, which I don't think are going to be saved, but they'll find out in a few weeks. I don't know. $290,000. Let me guess. One was for a dunk tank for the end of the school year festival.
We'll get to Blaine. George in the West Loop. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hello?
Hey,
Hello.
George, you're on. George, you are on. You talk now.
Listen, you don't know the half of it. That's all the things that you know. I guess you got that from the Freedom of Information or whatever. But, like on the South Side, there's a school, George Washington High School. It's full of kids from Indiana. I'm paying property taxes so kids from Indiana can come and use a high school in Chicago. It's absurd, and there's little insidious things like this all over the city.
Yeah, thanks for the call, George. I agree. Something else that I know from somebody on the inside there, the average daily attendance, one of the things that happens is families move around, particularly families that are beneficiaries of like Section 8 housing vouchers.
Right. Yeah.
So they'll move from one place to the other, out of one district into another, and both districts will count the students. Because what incentive does the school that they're leaving have to not report that student as still there? Because what's state funding based on? In part, average daily attendance. So he suggests that as much as 20% of the enrollment in CPS is phantom enrollment. It's double counted enrollment.
Oh,
so in addition to auditing and taking a look at all of the itemized spending of principals who are spending your money lavishly on pizza parties and video games and trips for students. I mean, why should someone in Round Lake Beach pay for a Simeon pizza party?
That's a good point.
But in addition to that,
because we do it out of the kindness of our hearts.
Well, that's fine if you want to do it voluntarily, and they can raise money to do that. That's fine. Do it transparently and voluntarily, but to do it this way, I think is problematic. The other thing is audit CPS. We should have an audit of CPS rolls the same way we've suggested before, and we started to audit the Medicaid rolls to remove people who shouldn't be on Medicaid because we can't afford it. We can't afford to have a third of Illinois on Medicaid. It's preposterous. We can't afford, and CPS shouldn't want to afford, to pay per pupil to pay out 51% of their overall funding, this $6 billion monstrosity, for kids that aren't there, for kids that don't exist because they're being double counted, for example, or they've just moved out of the district, or frankly, to George and the West Loop's point, for kids coming over across the border that don't belong in the system. Why should we pay for that? So who would be afraid of auditing the rolls for CPS, for the 660 schools in CPS, in addition to establishing some best practices, perhaps, on how these $135,000 a year principals are spending our money for their students?
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Dan, you got to tell me how Blaine and our former principal, spent his money.
A lot of curious
money.
reimbursements to one Amy Jacobson.
Oh, yeah, right. Here's your forecast. No curiosity here because we're just going to have sunshine for about 3 days in a row. It's going to be spectacular today, a high of 78, and tomorrow a high of 81. Anything new on the roadways? Any tricky spots? Here's Jim Talamonte with the answer.
Well, Amy, if you're heading to a pizza party at Blaine, you'll find delays on the inbound Kennedy starting around Sayre and continuing most of the way downtown. It's 35 minutes from O'Hare to the Burn Circle, 20 from Montrose, 15 on the Express, outbound 48 minutes downtown to O'Hare. Edens is 23 minutes, Lycook to the Junction, outbound 30. The Eisenhower, looking at an hour and 5 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, and 52 minutes from Manheim, outbound 46 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45 minutes. The Rhine is 30 minutes, 95th to the Loop. I-57, Bishop, where they've cleared up, the delays are all gone. Northbound Tri-State, stop and go 95th to 31st, and very slow from the Cermak Toll to the Grand Avenue Curve. Adams Tollway, slow Bartlett to Barrington. Veterans Memorial, now really heavy from Boughton most of the way to St. Charles, and from the Army Trail Toll to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte of the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Hey, like all parents, I'm always looking for something fun to do with the boys, and I have a great suggestion. Donnelly's Wild West Town. It's a Western theme park, just a short drive from Chicago in Union, Illinois. It's open every day now, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And one admission fee includes everything. It's really fun that everyone in the family can experience together. And trust me, there is nothing else like it. In fact, we're going next week. So there's rides, there's attractions, panning for gold, shooting slingshots. There's a Wild West show that I love. There's a museum, a petting zoo, and great food. Parents, grandparents, everyone will enjoy a day together at Wild West Town. It's interactive family fun. So check out the details at wildwesttown.com. That's wildwesttown.com. And what a great outing for groups like daycares, church groups, really anybody. Wild West Town open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wild West Town. It's good old-fashioned family fun. Hee-haw!
My name is David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. Tony wanted to contact a realtor before purchasing a home in Naperville. Bad move. Not getting pre-qualified by me before talking with the realtor is like trying to get into a sold-out concert without a ticket. I pre-qualified Tony to purchase a home and introduced him to Kate Waddell, my preferred Naperville realtor. If you're purchasing a home, call me first. I'll pre-qualify you for free and introduce you to my experienced team of preferred realtors who will help you locate the perfect home. My team of real estate experts will always look out for your financial best interest. If you're buying a home, give me a call now at 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. I've helped thousands of AM560 listeners, but I can't help if you don't call 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. Pearl Mortgage, an equal housing lender, Illinois Residential Mortgage License T4358, RMLA, NMLS 19186.
I am so glad I did it. I'm just mad at myself for waiting so long. Hi, Amy Jacobson here for CertaPro Painters. You know, our front porch had chipping and peeling. It looked old and run down, but thanks to CertaPro Painters, it looks brand new again. And trust me, my neighbors are happy I did it. And you know, it's not too late to book that painting project. But don't wait. Be sure to get on CertaPro Painters' summer painting schedule today. Call 800-GO-CERTA or visit CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You know, CertaPro Painters will work around your busy schedule to get your home looking picture perfect for all your summer entertaining. That's why CertaPro Painters says we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, it's not too late to get that painting project off your to-do list. Call now, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA, or visit CertaPro.com today.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm telling you right now, it's awesome. I was trying to get my blood pressure regulated, okay? And like after 3 days of taking this thing, my blood pressure went back down to normal. I am ecstatic. I am so happy with this stuff. It is my savior.
Well, I had back pain for the last 40 years. 4 days after I started taking this stuff, it's gone.
This was the first summer that I have not had to have a steroid shot to help me to breathe.
The reason why I'm taking it because I've got Hep C. Once I began taking your stuff, it took a few months, but believe it or not, my liver enzymes are way down and it's normal now. It works.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code Chicago.
Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on The Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy talking about CPS spending. Let's get a couple callers in here.
And then you got to give me the list.
Yeah, you'll be contacted.
I want an itemized list, please.
You'll be contacted by the authorities.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mickey in the Northwest Side.
Get in line.
Hey, Mickey. You're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind.
Hey, Mickey.
Love you guys. Love your show.
Thanks.
I'm a former investigator for CPS, and I just wanted to tell you about a few of the scams that they run. The first scam is the spend down. Every department gets a budget. Let's say they get a budget of $3 million to do something. Well, by March or April, if they've only spent $2 million, obviously that's because they only needed around $2 million. But between that time, March and April, and the end of the school year, they will spend down the rest of their budget.
Sure.
Because if they don't, they have to give it back.
Sure.
They will spend down on, they'll buy $800,000 worth of paper clips and Kleenex. No toilet paper because they don't give the kids toilet paper, and things like that. But when you look at the size of the budget and the number of departments, this is hundreds of millions of dollars. And, of course, they deny that they do it.
Thanks for the call, Mickey. Appreciate it.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you hear the word chiller, the first thing that pops into your mind may be a frozen drink from your favorite convenience store. If you run a business or you're a maintenance engineer, you know of a different kind of chiller, the mechanical one that keeps you, your employees, and customers cool in the summer. And with this summer predicted to be hotter than normal, you don't want to get stuck on one of those 90-plus degree days with no AC. Better call Air Comfort and get your chiller tuned up and running at peak performance. A professional inspection can find small problems before they become big problems, and proper maintenance can keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your AC is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
Hey, did you know that you should change your pillow every 2 years? But you don't have to do that. You can simply wash it if you get a pillow from MyPillow. Your pillows absorb dead skin, dirt, skin oils, dust mites. That's why they're so heavy. And that can cause allergies, acne, asthma, and who knows what else. You really deserve a washable MyPillow. It comes with a 10-year warranty, and it's a great health investment. Best of all, I know you'll sleep better because I do. And it's the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation for good reason. So visit MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use the promo code Amy for the 2-for-1 offer. Give one as a gift and keep the other one for yourself. Do it now, 800-489-0201 or online at MyPillow.com, promo code Amy. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to Congressman Peter Roskam, a member of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, about that report and the reaction to it at 7:37.
And looky here, Donald Trump is looking for a bit of celebrity for the GOP convention. And on the top of his list, Coach Mike Ditka. He joins us at 8:08. But first into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. We have sunshine and 60 degrees. The death toll in the attack on an Istanbul airport rising. 41 killed in the attack yesterday, up from 36. More than a dozen foreign nationals are believed to be among the dead. Secretary of State John Kerry reacted this morning in Aspen, Colorado.
This is daily fare. And that's why I say the first challenge we need to face is countering non-state violent actors.
More than 230 were injured in that attack. U.S. stock futures looking a little better today than they have since Brexit. Dow futures up 100. A Milwaukee woman accused of killing a pregnant woman is now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. The Bureau announcing the addition of 24-year-old Shanika Minor, who's wanted in the March shooting death of 23-year-old Tamika Perry. Perry's unborn child also died in the shooting. That Mega Millions jackpot getting a little bigger. No one won last night. $415 million now in the pot. Governor Bruce Rauner continues pushing a stopgap budget to fund schools, university, and other state services. Republican ripping a Democrat bailout plan for the Chicago public schools. He says that would cause more problems than it fixes. The new fiscal year begins on Friday. With the flow of cash about to stop to local 911 centers, some state services, and other Illinois entities, they could be severely impacted without a budget. The new fiscal year begins on Friday. Mayor Emanuel could be close to reaching a deal to save Chicago's largest employee pension fund. It's a story in the Sun-Times that floats the idea of a property tax hike and a fee on water bills to bankroll the municipal employees' pension fund. The minimum age in Chicago for buying cigarettes and other tobacco products goes up to 21 at the end of this week. The city will join 170 other local jurisdictions around the country that have made that change. Illinois lawmakers are considering a statewide measure. Cubs over Cincinnati 7-2 in 15 innings, while Minnesota topped the White Sox 4-0. The news, a service of Napa Auto Parts with more than 400,000 quality parts, 90 years of experience. Napa can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer, stronger with Napa know-how. 7:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is looking for a united GOP to take on Hillary.
If Paul Ryan, if all these squishy, timid Republicans, the NRA, some fair-minded media types, if any of those factions would be in Donald Trump's corner, maybe he'd be up by 10 points right now. Who knows? Who knows? Democrats have no trouble uniting.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Bubba Burger, official burger of the 4th of July. Now that the weather is great, it's time to get the grill sizzling. Find Bubba Burger at a retailer near you. Bubba Burger, simply the best burger.
Ameritrust Mortgage is the one-stop mortgage shop. Buy or refinance. VA, FHA, and conventional. A local company. Ameritrust Mortgage is your one-stop mortgage shop.
This is Barbara Walters, president of Ameritrust. For any mortgage, call us. We know our business and we get you to the finish line fast. We don't use voicemail. You get to talk to a real live person, and when you do, you'll find out how easy it can be to get the mortgage done and how much you will save. Your loan is processed in-house. Our staff underwriters approve your loan. Ameritrust closes your loan with Ameritrust funds. Ameritrust is a mortgage banker. Our loans are never funded by a third-party end-line investor. We are the one-stop mortgage shop. We also have options that will give you a choice, paying closing costs or not paying any costs. Choose what's best for you.
Ameritrust Mortgage. Call 815-459-7303 right now and compare. You'll get the lowest quote fast because they make the decisions. 815-459-7303 or go to am560myhome.com.
Hey, I want to tell you about my friends at Guardian Security Services, because here's the deal. If you're unhappy with your door staff or on-site security officers at your business or property, or you're just not receiving the services you were promised, there's no reason to tolerate it. Call my friends right now at Guardian Security Services to discuss your security officer needs. These guys are amazing. They've been Chicago's best for 41 years. They only assign the most professional, highly trained security officers in all of Chicagoland. Their vetting practices are exceptional. If you're finally ready to explore an alternative to your current security officer provider, then doggone it, do it. Pick up the phone right now and schedule a free security assessment with my friends at Guardian Security Services. Tell them me, Joe Walsh, sent you. Right now, call 708-385-3300. Again, 708-385-3300 or online at guardiansecurityinc.com.
7:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim.
Thanks, Mike. Inbound Eden's delays start at Foster. 23 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 30. The Kennedy, 36 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 48. The Eisenhower's an hour from Thorndale to the post office, outbound now an hour and 7 minutes. Stevenson an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45 minutes. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to the Loop, northbound Tri-State, slow 95th to 31st, and from the Cermak toll to the Grand Avenue curve, northbound Veterans Memorial, slow Boughton most of the way to St. Charles, and from the Army Trail toll to 290 traffic. It's a service of Burger King's Classic Grilled Dogs. Get to Burger King July 2nd and 3rd and try Classic Grilled Dog for just $1. All you have to do to get the $1 deal is go to Burger King and ask for the $1 deal on the Classic Grilled Dog. At participating Burger King restaurants, limit 5 per transaction while supplies last. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next with your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Very pleasant day ahead. Warmer, bit of sunshine, and a high of 78, and a low of 59 overnight. 59 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, and we're talking about the Benghazi report, the 800-page report produced and released by the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Trey Gowdy addressed the assembled press yesterday to issue a bit of a challenge, number one, to read the report, which, come on.
Read Trey. The report? Who's got time for that?
Come on, Trey. Or the reading skills. But what he wanted those to do, in addition to reading the report, is as you're reading the report, take particular note of private knowledge in comparison to public statements.
I want you to contrast the information and the evidence that was available on the evening of September the 11th. Look at the full body of evidence that was available, and then look at what was said. And then you draw your own conclusion of whether or not you made the best use of the evidence and the information that was available. It is one thing to say the evidence didn't exist. It existed. We found them. We found the DS agents. We found the GRS agents. Their conversations ongoing throughout the night. She actually talked to Greg Hicks. So that argument actually works both ways. If there's a failure of information, she was fairly definitive in certain statements she made to other people privately. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't like, I can't answer that question, Mr. Egyptian political leader, we don't know. She was pretty definitive. It was just in the public statements to us that there was less definitiveness. So you're going to have to decide that for yourself.
And Hillary, acting as a spokesman for the Washington Press Corps, said this in response.
So I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
Well, we're not moving on quite yet.
So insincere.
The press corps is. The press corps has.
Oh, yeah. They said there's no smoking gun. They read it all. I'm sure they did. Mm-hmm.
This was received with a collective yawn. Finally, it's over. Finally, we can formally absolve and conclusively absolve Hillary and just get on about our business of flacking for her. Well, for more on the report and the work of that committee, we're joined by a member of the House Select Committee on Benghazi and thus, by extension, a member of the vast right-wing conspiracy. He is Congressman Peter Roskam, who joins us now. Peter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, good to be with you guys.
So Trey Gowdy didn't want to use the term liar in describing Hillary Clinton, but the record suggests that not only is she is inveterate and unrepentant.
Look, she knew the truth, and she told something else. I don't know how else to characterize that, and it was nearly contemporaneous. So she's conflating these issues, creating this false narrative, along with many others in the administration. So this is a larger theme, but many others in the administration that started that night. She gives a statement shortly after 10 o'clock on the night of the attacks, essentially, and then within a very short period of time, she's communicating privately through an email with her daughter that says nothing about a video and is declarative that it was a terrorist attack. And similarly, when she's interacting with the Egyptian leadership, when she's interacting with the Libyan leadership, all the same thing. And I think, this is part of this, the part of evaluating this and investigating this for the past couple of years. My takeaway is this jarring contrast between the heroism, the initiative, the self-sacrifice that was happening on the ground in Benghazi and was happening in Tripoli as CIA agents were trying to get to Benghazi, and just the cavernous difference between basically dithering and politics and nonsense that was happening in Washington, D.C. at the same time. It is shocking to actually learn these facts and to see them posted next to one another.
So 4 lives lost, 600 requests for security, and no one came to their rescue because they were too busy figuring out the politics of it all,
They're
figuring out what the Marines were going to wear.
Amy, so this
So
is
high
what
school.
happened. The President of the United States learns. So the attack happens Washington, D.C. time about 3:42 p.m.
Okay.
About 5 o'clock, the President is notified, and the President says, do everything to help these people. He gives the order to Leon Panetta. Panetta then gathers his team as the Secretary of Defense. They evaluate the assets. At 7 o'clock, Panetta gives an order, deploy. Now, here's where it really starts to break down. It just doesn't happen. And here's the scandal. Part of it is there was never any asset that was ever going to Benghazi. Never. There were 2 unarmed drones. It's arguable that one of them could have been armed, maybe, but 2 unarmed drones showed up, and the guys from Tripoli showed up. But in terms of the initiative from Washington, you know, that feeling wheels up and help is on the way, never happened. Nothing was ever going to Benghazi.
Well, so how can the president give a directive and the Secretary of Defense reiterate that directive and nothing moves?
Nothing moves because the Department of Defense didn't move with dispatch. And so that's a big problem. And I think moving forward, we've got to sort this out. Because, look, America asks its citizens to go to dangerous places and do difficult things. And the deal that we make with them as diplomats, as members of the clandestine services, as members of the military, is you go in there, there's an assumption of the risk, but we're going to do everything as a country to mitigate that risk. And if the wheels come off the cart, we're going to do everything we can to rescue you. And that didn't happen. So what does that tell diplomats? What does that tell forward-leaning clandestine operators or members of the military who's got their back? And just think about this. Can you imagine if this was an Israeli operation? Can you imagine Netanyahu sitting back and doing essentially nothing or not following up, or the Israeli military, you know, them just wringing their hands and literally thinking about politics?
Who has blood on their hands here, though? I mean, who's the one when the Marines were ready to go, and then they said, "Well, change your clothes into civilian clothes." No, change back. Now change again. I mean, who was initiating that directive?
4 times, Amy, and it took 3 hours for these guys to change and change and change and change. I mean, ultimately, the American public has to ask and answer that question: to whom is the responsibility allied? But you know who bears the burden?
Who?
The families bear the burden, and the 4 guys who were killed, they bear the burden. And
right.
So this is a shame, and I mean that literally. This is a shame. This is a shameful thing to learn, that our country failed these people so miserably.
But here's the thing, and this is what we're trying to get to, is specific culpability. You know, that the whole government is always mistakes were made, the mistakes made themselves. No, people made those mistakes up and down the chain of command, from Hillary Clinton to Leon Panetta, and then down perhaps to military officers who didn't execute the order that they were given by Panetta. But are we going to see any people actually whistled in to say, you were told to do this and you didn't do it, and that's a problem, and your career is over as a senior military official? Nobody is held responsible. Where everybody's responsible, so no one's responsible.
Yeah, I take your point, and I agree with you. And that is one of the really jarring and maddening things. And just to make matters a little bit worse, just to pile on, this was a mistake in terms of the policy going in. Never got a straight answer, by the way. If there was gun running involved, the administration would never answer that question. It was a mistake as it was happening. So Chris Stevens is sent to Libya. The first time he goes in, he is supposed to be accompanied by the military. Then at the last minute, the boots-on-the-ground policy says, oh, no military accompanying for you. And he goes in without even diplomatic immunity. He goes in without even the cover of the Geneva Convention. So think about that. Time after time after time, they have requested more security support. One diplomatic security agent we learned went out there, came back and said, this is a suicide mission. Everybody here is going to die, and that is well in advance of the September 11th attack. So it's a mistake going in. It's a mistake as it's happening. And it's a mistake in terms of the cover-up and the mischaracterization and the false narrative coming out of it. And so, look, we get to choose our leaders, and people have to make a decision about who they want to lead them based on the totality of this information. And so that's now obviously part of the national discussion.
And in the end, it was Gaddafi forces, right, that went in and saved everyone?
Ironic. Isn't that unbelievable? Yep. So the very people that the administration was aligned against were the people that got our Americans evacuated out of Benghazi. None of the people that the administration had been building these relationships with over the previous 18 months. In fact, the information indicates that one of the top security guys with whom we had relied was actually next to one of the commanders the night of the attack against the United States.
How do you respond to the criticism that the Benghazi committee made a mistake by parceling out information, leaking out information, and then this report doesn't have anything new? It just is a compendium of everything we already know.
So it didn't happen that way. It wasn't the committee that leaked information out. It was Democrats on the committee that leaked information out. Democrats put out a report earlier this week that mentions Donald Trump 23 times, I think, just kind of completely absurd, who had nothing to do with this event at all. So it is a work that is a complete work insofar as the information was available. It's 800 pages. I know it sounds long, but I commend it to you. And it is meant to, number one, explain what actually happened, and number two, give recommendations moving forward so that it doesn't happen again. But when it comes down to it, this is, we choose people, and people are the ones who initiate, people are the ones who execute things, and people are the ones where the responsibility should lie.
And for people whose names we shouldn't forget, we see the media report the names of terrorists all the time, U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens, Foreign Service Officer Sean Smith, and CIA contractors Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods. Peter Roskam, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine for really the next 5 days. It's going to be gorgeous today, a high of 78 degrees tonight, a low of 59, and tomorrow partly sunny skies, a high of 81. How's that inbound Kennedy doing? Here's Jim Telemonte with the answer.
Amy, it's stop and go from Foster to the Burns Circle. It's 37 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, 25 from Montrose, 20 in the Express. Outbound's heavier, 28 minutes to Montrose, 56 to O'Hare. Edens is 23 minutes, Lake Hook to the junction. Outbound 30, the Eisenhower. Looking at an hour from Thorndale to the post office. And 47 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 42 minutes to Manheim, an hour 7 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 45 minutes. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to the Loop. Lakeshore Drive, southbound heavy 18th to the Stevenson, northbound McFetridge to Jackson. Jackson is now closed. Lakeshore Drive to Columbus for taste setup. Northbound Tri-State, slow 95th to 31st, and from the Cermak Toll to the Grand Avenue Curve. Adams Tollway, stop and go 59 to Barrington Road and Elmhurst to Lee. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
If you're aged 59 and a half or older with the 401k plan and still working, stop what you're doing and call Arlington Capital Management at 855-471-5796. They'll help you actively manage your 401k, show you strategies to avoid major declines, and capitalize on opportunities. There are benefits with age, and this is one of them. At 59 and a half, you're entitled to new opportunities in the investment world that can dramatically improve your results and even lower your fees. Call 855-471-5796 now and take the first step toward getting more out of your retirement assets. The team at Arlington Capital Management proactively explores the market, our economy, and all of the variables that offset your investments. Call 855-471-5796 now for a complimentary consultation. That's 855-471-5796 or visit arlington-capital.com. You worked hard to accumulate your nest egg. Now, it's time to put your money to work for you.
I'm Dan Proft with an upstream idea brought to you by the Illinois Policy Institute. 27. Illinois state employees, on average, receive total compensation 27% higher than their private sector counterparts. State employees made nearly $4,000 more in wages and $13,000 in benefits than private sector employees. More than half of state workers will retire before the age of 60 with a guaranteed state pension. The state is in a financial death spiral with ground impact imminent. So keep this in mind as Governor Bruce Rauner breaks off contract talks with AFSCME, the state's largest public sector union. AFSCME has been unwilling to give on its demands for annual step increases of 3.8%, in addition to annual general wage increases. The lowball estimate of the cost of what AFSCME demands is $1.6 billion. That's $1.6 billion more from Illinois families who already pay the highest property taxes in the nation. This is Governor Rauner's moment of truth. He ran for office saying he is not a politician. He said he is a businessman who will make the difficult decisions to turn around the state he loves. We're about to find out if that's true. For more Upstream ideas, visit upstream-ideas.com. I'm Dan Proft.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. The LASIK Vision Institute is now offering dramatically low prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved LASIK technology for a fraction of what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-700-8145. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra 20% discount off our already low-cost services. We've already performed over 1 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve at a fraction of what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-700-8145. 1-800-700-8145.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, not to pile on the disgrace of Benghazi, but this has to be reported. 22 veterans commit suicide every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 22 challenge that went viral earlier this year to raise awareness of the mental health issues that afflict so many veterans. Veterans Affairs in the news again. Government Accountability Office released a report Monday which found that, I'm quoting, tests of text messages revealed a potential area of concern. I always love the understatement in these government reports.
Text messages.
Yeah, text messages to the suicide hotline.
Oh, I did not even know that was an
Well,
option.
they call it the crisis hotline.
Yeah, so you can text into the crisis hotline instead of calling them. All right.
There is an ignore rate of 29%.
How can you work for a suicide crisis helpline and ignore anybody?
Great question. Welcome to your Department of Veterans Affairs.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. And now, a moment of objectivism with your Ron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
Economic inequality is growing and will continue to grow. But the question almost no one asks is, who cares? Economic inequality has nothing to do with poverty. In some countries, people are relatively equal and extremely poor. In other countries, like the United States, people are relatively unequal and the vast majority are, by world standards, extremely rich. Inequality just means there's a gap between what people earn, and that gap can grow even if every single individual is becoming better off. And that's really the story of capitalism. Economic progress makes us all better off, just at different rates. So who cares about inequality? I don't. For more, see my book with Don Watkins, Equal is Unfair, America's Misguided Fight Against Income Inequality. Visit ARIradio.com. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm your Ron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brooks Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIradio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
It's time for a little R&R, courtesy of ChicagoRadioDeals.com. 2 words, Door County. Take a few days off and escape to Wisconsin. Head on up to the White Lace Inn. It's a gorgeous bed and breakfast in Sturgeon Bay. The White Lace Inn features 18 inviting guest rooms and suites and 4 elegant turn-of-the-century neighboring homes. Enjoy the gardens, the gazebos, and the glory that is Door County. This is a $300 gift certificate for only $150, and it can be applied to overnight stays or items in their store. Hey, for another fabulous getaway adventure, purchase an overnight stay for the Schuster Mansion Bed and Breakfast in Milwaukee. Spend the night in Molly's Room, their 2-room luxury suite with a private bath and concierge service. That includes breakfast in the Victorian dining room and fresh chocolate chip cookies. Yours for only $85 per couple, valued at $169 a night. Check out all the deals only at ChicagoRadioDeals.com and get out of town.
Mike Rowe here with a quick IAQ test from my buddy Bill.
Wait, I didn't study.
IAQ stands for Indoor Air Quality, something 1 hour excels at.
Well, I aced my SATs, so...
Yes or no? Do you breathe inside your home?
Yeah.
And what do you breathe?
Air.
And what's in that air?
Air?
Sorry, we were looking for dust mites, household pollutants, even formaldehyde.
Wait, I need to move.
Or you could call 1 hour and improve your IAQ.
That sounds smarter.
Let's see how you do with the disclaimer.
Each independent franchise is licensed in its respective state or county.
Not bad.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, Coach Mike Ditka will be here to talk about Donald Trump, how he's trying to get him to be at the GOP convention.
I suppose Ditka, Bobby Knight, and Mike Tyson will draw straws to see who does the Clint Eastwood empty chair speech this time around.
We'll see if he accepts the invitation, only here on AM 560. But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, a big state budget battle looming today in Springfield. Illinois sharing in the Volkswagen emissions settlement, and the Cubs right the ship. Pleasant and warmer today. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. The airport in Istanbul, Turkey is partially open. The day after terrorists hit, 3 of them who arrived by taxi opened fire and then blew themselves up, killing at least 41 people. 239 others were wounded.
The ceiling, the roof is blown out. All the windows, the plate glass blown out. They're actually already starting to do repairs. The immensity of the damage, it is quite incredible to be here. And pretty heavy security. People going through checkpoints. There's a great deal of police personnel.
Fox's John Huddy at the Istanbul airport, one of the world's busiest. Turkey's president blaming ISIS for the attack.
President Obama just left the White House for Canada without talking about what happened in Turkey. So for now, the only official word from the White House is a statement that was put out last night condemning the attacks. It reads in part, quote, "We remain steadfast in our support for Turkey as we continue to confront the threat of terrorism." Now, that topic will likely come up when President Obama meets today with the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Canada for this summit of North American leaders.
Fox's Kristen Fisher. Hillary Clinton says the attack strengthens our resolve to defeat radical jihadism. Her Republican rival Donald Trump says we have to fight fire with fire. He wants to bring back waterboarding, and a new poll has the race neck and neck. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
David, new Quinnipiac University survey shows Democrat Hillary Clinton has a 2-point edge over Republican Donald Trump, leading 42 to 40%. That's tighter than a Quinnipiac survey earlier this month that showed Clinton with a 4-point advantage. 61% of voters say the 2016 election has increased the level of hate and prejudice in the United States, and most blame the Trump campaign. The poll also suggests voters will go to the polls holding their noses this fall, as most say neither Trump nor Clinton would make a good president. Dave.
Rachel, the Senate plans to begin voting today on a rescue package for Puerto Rico 2 days before the island is expected to default on a $2 billion debt payment. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Sunshine and 60 degrees. It's 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Governor Bruce Rauner pushing a stopgap budget to fund schools, universities, and other state services. Democrats, meantime, are pushing a plan that Rauner called a bailout of the Chicago public school systems. The flow to cash, local 911 centers, some state health services will stop this week if Illinois enters another year, Friday, without a budget. Mayor Emanuel could be close to hammering out a deal to save Chicago's largest employee pension fund. The Sun-Times says several ideas are being floated, like a property tax hike and a fee on water bills to bankroll the city's increased contribution to the municipal employees' pension fund. 4 men are hurt following a shooting on Chicago's southwest side. Shots were fired near 16th and Christina after 2 groups got into an argument. No arrests have been made. 3 Cook County jail officers are recovering following a scuffle with an inmate. Guards were bringing that inmate back to his cell when they were doused with urine. Each victim suffered minor injuries during restraint attempts. Chicago sports, Cubs over Cincinnati 7-2 in 15 innings of work. Chris Bryant, the game-winning single. Javi Baez, a grand slam. Brian Dozier homered twice. Twins over the White Sox 4-0. And London Olympic star Missy Franklin will not defend her title in the 100-meter backstroke thanks to an unbelievable swim by Olivia Smoliga of Glenview and Glenbrook South High School. She's headed to the Olympics for the first time. The news, a service of Sam's Club. Everything you need to host the perfect cookout for this 4th of July holiday. Boneless, skinless chicken breast, $1.88 per pound. 90-10 ground chuck, $2.98 per pound. Sam's Club, life is better in the club. See club for details. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. From the Fox Business Network and a service of Turnkey.pro, here's Jenny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, Sports Authority's stores will be sold at auction today. The chain filed for bankruptcy and is liquidating. Dow Jones Newswire says fewer than 24 stores will find new tenants before the sale. Before failing, Sports Authority had more than 450 locations. You may be saving some money on your mutual funds. Fidelity has decided to cut fees on more than 24 funds that track stock and bond indexes. The money manager wants to compete with lower-cost index funds. Uber will be tracking your drivers starting later this week in major cities. Uber Technologies has developed a way to see if drivers are speeding or cutting corners. It's done by monitoring the sensors in the driver's smartphone. The company wants to be able to check on drivers who've received complaints from customers. The Dow closed up 269 on Tuesday. NASDAQ was up 97. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It finally feels like summertime in Chicago. The weather is warm, but the news, it's even hotter. So whether this will be the summer of Trump
Hillary is very weak. I think she's pathetic.
or the summer of Hillary,
The Republican nominee should never get near the White House.
one thing's for sure.
We're going to have a very contentious campaign.
The temperature will reach 560.
We need a tough tone in this country, folks.
AM 560.
She can't even handle her emails. How can she be president?
The Answer.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
Thousands of people are choosing to drive with Uber. That's where the riders are. So drivers have less downtime, are busier making more trips, earning more money.
I choose to drive with Uber because of the money and flexibility. I'm my own boss. I get to do what I want, when I want, and still earn extra money. Driving with Uber is the smartest thing I've done.
Earn the extra money you need. Just an hour or two a day and the money adds up fast when you drive with Uber. Get started today. Take 2 minutes and sign up right now. Go to uber.com/drive now. uber.com/drive now.
8:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center, the latest with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. In Wakanda, southbound 12 is closed. Bonner to 176. There's a rollover crash. Edens, outbound delays are from Montrose to Lake Avenue, 35 minutes. Montrose to Lake Cook. Inbound now fine at 19. The Kennedy, 37 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, but outbound 56. The Eisenhower, an hour and 10 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, 55 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 50 minutes from Manheim, an hour 15 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45 minutes. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to the Loop, outbound it's clear. Northbound Tri-State slow 95th most of the way to 31st. And from the Cermak toll to the Grand Avenue curve, eastbound Adams Tollway has delays, 59 to Barrington, Elmhurst to Lee, Reagan Tollway from the Aurora Toll to Wiola, at 83 to Roosevelt, Veterans Memorial from Boughton most of the way to St. Charles, and then from the Army Trail Toll to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Sunshine today, high 78, clear night, low 59. Partly sunny tomorrow with a high 81. Then at night becoming mostly cloudy with a shower or thunderstorm, a low tomorrow night of 62. Clouds and sun for Friday, high of 76. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Sunny and 61 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Wealth Management Group, hosted by Craig Bolanos. Heard Sunday mornings at 10.
Good morning. Welcome to your Wednesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
In the end, it was political concerns that drove this. The evidence strongly shows that, and that's what we outline in our report.
If there's a failure of information, she was fairly definitive in certain statements she made to other people privately. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't like, I can't answer that question, Mr. Egyptian political leader, we don't know. She was pretty definitive.
I'll leave it to others to characterize this report, but I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Amy, as you know, I've been struggling with my golf game a little bit this summer.
A little bit? I think you did break your driver by slamming a wedge into your bag and then it cracked, correct? Not that I remember perfectly, but I think I have the details correct.
That is not inaccurate.
Okay.
Yeah,
You gotta slow your roll, man. Back and through.
Trying to find my spiritual center on the golf course, but it's been difficult. So I figured let's have somebody on that maybe could give me a few golf tips, particularly with respect to anger management on the course. And that's, of course, Hall of Fame coach and player Mike Ditka, who joins us now. Coach, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, guys. How are you?
Good. So you wade into politics from time to time, and the story out yesterday that the Trump campaign trying to line up certain sports legends for the convention next month, including Mike Tyson, including Bobby Knight, and including Mike Ditka. Are you going to the convention?
I don't know. This is the first I've heard about it. I'm being very honest with you. I have no clue. Somebody asked me yesterday, and I have no clue. Now, if you're asking me, this is America the last time I looked. Now, maybe some people think that's changed, but this is a country where you have a choice. You have a freedom to vote, and that vote is your choice. You don't have to make it public. You don't have to make it known. But you vote for somebody that you think's good for America. That's all that's important. Now, anybody who votes for anybody else, that's their prerogative. God bless them. I have no problem with anything. But I don't want anybody telling me that it's wrong to vote for somebody for whatever their reasons are. I think that's asinine, stupid, and childish.
So Coach Ditka, why do you? You came out about a year and a half ago praising Donald Trump, and you came out about a year ago praising Donald Trump, saying that he's right on track. Do you still feel that way? And
I do. Yes, I think he says what a lot of people would like to say, don't have the guts to say. I think he has a lot of qualities of leadership that people in our government don't have right now, or in our leadership don't have. That's what I believe. Now, that's my belief. Does that make me infallible? No, it just makes me believe it. And you're asking me the question, so evidently you want to know what I believe. And I'm telling you, that's what I believe. I believe he would be good for America. I really do. Now, you may not feel that way. That's your prerogative.
Right. I'm trying to warm up to Donald Trump.
Well, what are you trying to warm up to him? I warmed up to him. Who are you going to warm up to? I mean, I look at this whole thing. Who are you going to really warm up to?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
You can spin the wheel any way you want to. You can come up with this and that, but you have two choices right now, and one of them is really, really not good. So it's up to the individual. And again, America's going to survive basically anything. I think it will. I'm not positive. Maybe in my lifetime, I think it'll survive it. But other than that, I don't know.
Well,
but it's up to the individual. You do what you want to do.
Well, Coach, I mean, do you want to go to the convention? I mean, I think it would be.
Great.
I think it'd be a hoot to see you and Bobby Knight on the dais there making the case for Trump.
What is a hoot?
Well, be fun.
I mean, honestly, what is a hoot? I mean,
it would be fun.
Who? It's a hoot for who?
Well, I think for
us.
For Republicans.
I listen. I'm not adverse to anything. I say this is not my life. I'm an old man. I mean, there's got to be other people that can do a better job at this than I can. I mean, I'm very, very honest. But I think my views, to me, I respect my views because they're personal. They're to me. I think I've been on this earth for quite a while now, three-quarters of a century, and I have a pretty good understanding of what I like about America and what I worry about America. And there's some worries right now that people don't we're going to brush that aside. Well, go ahead, you brush it aside. I'll worry about it.
Well, what concerns you most right now?
Yeah.
The country. I think the country, the direction we're going. Who are we? Are we proud to be American? Or we keep apologizing to the rest of the world? I don't know. You tell me. Our leadership is apologizing. For what? What are we apologizing for? Americans got to where they got in this country by doing a lot of things. One of them is called hard work. That's what my dad did. That's what my grandfathers did. They came over from the old country with the opportunity through an immigration system that's been in existence for over 100 years of how to get to this country, how to become an American citizen, and how to be a good citizen. And that's what they became. And they worked their butt off, and they loved it because every day they had to go up and go to that mill. They had to work in that steel mill, work on that railroad. And that's okay. But where's that in America today? Mm-hmm. We have an entitlement. We have an entitlement society. Everybody says, well, I mean, you don't have to do that. You're entitled to that because of this or because of that. That's not right. You're entitled to what you earn. You're entitled to the opportunity to be an American citizen, to work, to love, to cherish, to raise a family. That's what you're entitled to. If you want to do that, good. If you don't, you ought to go to one of those other countries and see what they're really like.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I think there is a sort of a silent, increasingly less silent, a majority who believes that about America. And it's not just the lunch pail guys. It's up and down the socioeconomic scale. It's all races. There's a lot of people who believe that. And it seems like Trump has struck a chord with people who do still believe that.
Well, it depends. If you think America's the bully, I don't. America is not the bully. America is the defender of what's right in the world. So, that's my opinion. But like I said, it's all about choices. I don't try to give anybody my choice. What I'm saying to you, you asked me a question. Here's what I believe. Could I have avoided the question and said something else? Yes. But I'm not politically correct. I'm not trying to be politically correct.
Could we entice you to go to the convention if you knew the Beach Boys were going to play at the convention?
If I knew Elvis was going to be there, I'd be there.
Okay.
But if duty calls, if Donald Trump personally, Coach.
I really don't know. I haven't. Like I said, this all came up, and nobody's told me a thing about it. And then somebody started texting me yesterday and said, "Look at this, look at that, look at that." You and Mike Tyson, and I said, "This is the first I've heard of it. Believe me." And I'm not lying to you. The first I've heard of it was yesterday. And I happened to be working on my terrific golf game, which sucks. So I was really busy.
I know
you and Dan have something in common. So if Donald Trump calls you, do you think that then you'll go to Cleveland to the GOP convention if he asks you personally to do so?
I don't like to travel anymore, but I think I could get to Cleveland if he called me.
There you go.
That's the answer we're looking
you can
for.
guarantee that call will be made. Coach, before we let you go, I have to ask you about the passing of Buddy Ryan and your reflections on Buddy Ryan.
Well, I think everybody said everything there is to say, and after the fact, everybody's, well, he's just saying that. No, Buddy was, he was special. I think, and I told people this yesterday, because of the way he coached defenses and the schemes he had on defense, that's why the offenses in football are so good today. That's why they're spread out. That's why they have multiple sets to get the ball to different people, because of what Buddy created. Because you could not play the old conventional offense against his defenses. He would kill you. So he was way ahead of his time in thinking. But he's a pioneer in the fact that he probably never thought of it this way, but he's really changed the game of football offensively, and he was a defensive coach because people have had to make great adjustments to try to limit what they were doing on defense. So I have, and his legacy is terrific. I mean, guys, I tried to tell somebody yesterday, I didn't coach the defense. I had nothing to do with the defense. He coached the defense. They had their own meetings. They had their own thing, and then they were their own group, and they were good. They were really good, maybe one of the best ever. We had an offense. We had to get our job done. We had to uphold our end of it, and we did. So, together we did something that neither of us were ever able to do alone.
Now,
we won a championship.
Yep, yeah. And you two, and we still appreciate that. And you two kind of had a rocky relationship, but in the end, did you work things out?
Well, yeah, but when you say rocky, who says it's rocky?
Well,
I think
ESPN
when you're young, the egos get involved, and there's no question about that. And I was probably more at fault than anybody. But I have nothing but the greatest respect for people who know what they're doing and become leaders. And Buddy did all of that, and he made men out of boys, and he made us a very great football team. I've said that from day one. So people don't have to pass away for me to have the respect that I had for him. I love Buddy Ryan for who he was and what he meant to the Chicago Bears. I don't know that you can say too much else than that. You can spin the wheel any way you want to spin it, but my God, I mean. Did we have tea together? No. Did we have fun together at times? Yeah, we had some fun together at times. But then, it got into the situation. After we won the Super Bowl, Buddy left. So then it became a big competitive situation built up by the media. And that's okay. I mean, we both lived through it. We both survived it. But I'm just saying that a lot of that's made up by the media, guys, and you guys are in the media. But I know you didn't make that up, but a lot of things are made up by the media. I mean, the relationship was never as rocky or as bad as people made it, but it seemed like to be good ink, so people wrote about it.
Yeah, imagine the media sensationalizing something. All right.
No, that could never happen.
Yeah, right. He is Hall of Fame Bears coach and player Mike Ditka. Good luck with the golf game, and we'll see you in Cleveland.
All right. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
God bless
Coach.
you. Yeah, thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
I think Coach Ditka tweets.
I think he's got to focus on his golf game.
Yeah.
I think he's probably when he's a bobolink, he's not focusing on Twitter.
Here's your forecast. I could tweet this one out because you're going to love it. Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 78 degrees. Tonight, lows in the 50s. And tomorrow, partly sunny, a little bit warmer, a high of 81. Anything to love on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Inbound Eden, Sammy, they're loving it. 19 minutes, Lake Hook to Montrose, but outbound it's 40 minutes. Inbound Kennedy delays start at Keeler, 37 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound it's 46. Inbound Eisenhower. Tough sledding, an hour and 10 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, outbound it's an hour 15. The Stevenson, an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 45 minutes. The Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State delays 95th to 31st. And from the Cermak Toll to Grand Avenue, Veterans Memorial, slow Boughton most of the way to St. Charles. And from the Army Trail Toll to 290, Wakanda southbound 12 is blocked. Bonner to 176. There's an overturned vehicle. Jim Talamonte and the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Business owners, I want you to stop and think about the one part of your organization that you simply cannot live without. What comes to mind? Your employees, your location, your customers? Well, how about your technology? Let's face it, everything rests on your network running smoothly and efficiently. And that's where Turnkey IT comes in. They understand the value of your network and the critical role it plays in your company. They'll keep your network up and running and resolve any problems so you can focus on the important things. Turnkey IT's team of professionals will respond to you quickly. They won't roll their eyes when you ask some questions or try to dazzle you with confusing technical jargon. So this spring, Turnkey IT is offering a free security audit. That's right. Even if you have an IT guy, this free security audit will help you understand if they're keeping your data safe from viruses and hackers. So visit turnkey.pro today to schedule your free security audit and mention that Amy sent you. That's turnkey.pro.
Did you know 40% of all cancer could be prevented? That's a fact. Along with maintaining appropriate body weight and regular exercise, the American Institute for Cancer Research and the USDA confirm that eating 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables every day is the key. Now ask yourself, am I at risk? How many servings of fruits and vegetables did I eat today? Balance of Nature has solved this problem and provides an easy and affordable way to consume over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables every day.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
When you hear the word chiller, the first thing that pops into your mind may be a frozen drink from your favorite convenience store. If you run a business or you're a maintenance engineer, you know of a different kind of chiller, the mechanical one that keeps you, your employees, and customers cool in the summer. And with this summer predicted to be hotter than normal, you don't want to get stuck on one of those 90-plus degree days with no AC. Better call Air Comfort and get your chiller tuned up and running at peak performance. A professional inspection can find small problems before they become big problems, and proper maintenance can keep your system from wasting energy and money. Air Comfort will make sure your equipment is clean and obstacle-free. And if your AC is about to or has stopped working, they can install temporary solutions to keep you cool while the long-term fixes are put in place. The key is preventative maintenance, and Air Comfort can help. Schedule a comprehensive assessment of your mechanical system today. Call 708-345-1900 or visit aircomfort.com. Air Comfort, providing the right climate for business since 1935.
AM 560, The Answer.
Excuse me, Sonny. What's a hoot?
Yeah.
That is funny.
What's a hoot?
What do you mean? Why that'll be a real hoot?
Dick
What's a
and
hoot?
Knight on the dais together for Trump. That would be a hoot. That would be fun. I don't know. I didn't think that was, a millennial term. So I don't. Okay. All right.
Oh, that is classic.
My arcane rhetoric. Speaking of entertaining rhetoric, Nigel Farage made his return to the EU triumphant, and he addressed the EU, and then he dressed them down, giving us a little preview of Donald Trump's first State of the Union address.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schultz. Isn't it funny? When I came here 17 years ago and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
No, they're not. They're whimpering and catcalling while he was speaking. It was pretty good stuff. Farage also did an interview with Richard Quest from CNN, who's a bit of a hoot himself.
Oh, my gosh. That was a lively interchange. They were both kind of laughing, too, toward the end.
Yeah.
They must have a very amicable, friendly relationship.
They're
because
just British.
They're just British. It was just a very bizarre interaction.
But Farage made an interesting compare and contrast between the one of the challenges ahead for the UK to kind of regain some semblance of its sovereignty as compared to the challenge ahead of Donald Trump or the next president of the United States.
Donald Trump dares to talk about things that other people want to brush under the carpet. But what Mr. Trump is doing in America is very different to what I'm trying to do in the United Kingdom. My problem in politics is far greater than Donald Trump's. We literally have lost our sovereignty, lost our borders, lost our ability to regulate.
He would say the same thing about U.S. borders.
Well, the problem that you've got in the U.S. is illegal immigration. Our problem is legal immigration to 500 million people.
Yeah, I think the problems are more similar than Farage wants to admit, and that's in part because of President Obama's illegal executive amnesty program and the desire to bring 200,000 refugees from Syria that the director of the FBI says we cannot possibly vet in terms of their intentions and who they are and the backgrounds and so forth. Important things, which is why you have a naturalization process. But it's very interesting against the backdrop of yet another radical Islamist terrorist attack in Istanbul yesterday, with now the body count at 41 dead and 239 injured. The idea of sovereign control of your country, and that necessarily includes your borders and some rational process by which you allow people to emigrate into the country in numbers that are manageable and a process that is manageable for the job at hand. And we don't have that in this country either. I mean, it's not quite as loosey-goosey as the EU is imposing on its member countries, but it's certainly the direction that Obama wants to take the country, and Hillary as well.
But I love it when Farage said, we don't have to deal with illegal immigration. We have to deal with immigration. That's legal.
Well,
but
right.
It's an issue that they face.
But foisted upon them. And this is why when asked to comment on the other candidate for President of the United States, Farage had this to say.
I think for the United Kingdom, I think Trump would be better for us than Barack Obama's been, of that there's no doubt.
And against Hillary Clinton? Or are you not going to take sides at this early stage?
There's nothing on earth could persuade me ever to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Wow. You're sure you don't want to think about that for a second?
No, absolutely not.
I mean,
I mean, she represents the political elite. It's almost as if she feels she has a sort of divine right to have that job.
I think if it's President Trump and Prime Minister Farage at some point, that could renew the special relationship between our countries.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, we're here at CreditRepair.com, the most recognized name in the industry for resolving credit report issues and getting those scores up. With me, I got Aaron. Aaron, there's a lot going on here today.
That's right, Justin. Last year alone, we had over 500,000 calls from people needing help with improving their credit reports.
And no wonder. What you're doing works, right?
It sure does. Our proven process actually can help remove those unfair or inaccurate items from your credit report. And on average, people who have used our service have seen significant improvement in their credit scores month after month.
So when it comes to getting things in life that you really want, like a home, car, or even a new job, the first thing lenders usually look at is credit. So don't let a low credit score hold you back. Call CreditRepair.com today. And so what happens when they call?
Well, when you call, we're actually going to give you a free credit report, a free credit score, and a free evaluation to tell you what's going on right over the phone.
Call CreditRepair.com at 800-231-1735. That's 800-231-1735. 800-231-1735.
Hey, kids weren't thinking about school very much this summer, but it's the perfect time for you, mom and dad, to think about where you'll be sending your kids to school this fall. More and more parents are thinking about private school, and maybe that's you. Well, private school has never been more affordable thanks to halfpriceschools.com, where you can find tuition vouchers for private schools across the Chicagoland area at half off the normal price. There's no catch. It's real simple. Find a school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, and prepare to send your child off to school this fall. HalfPriceSchools.com has schools located all across the Chicago area, including Libertyville, Bensonville, Palos Heights, Palatine, Chicago, Arlington Heights, just to name a few. But don't delay. Summer won't last forever, and school will be starting again before you know it. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today, and many of these vouchers have already sold out, so do not wait. No more procrastination. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. That's HalfPriceSchools.com. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How does free trader Steve Moore reconcile his support for protectionist Donald Trump? We'll ask him at 8:38.
And wait until you hear what one Chicago group, or how one Chicago group, describes Hillary Clinton. But first, let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Sunshine, 65 degrees, and the death toll this morning is rising after the attack on an Istanbul airport. Istanbul's governor now says 41 were killed in the airport attack, 230 injured. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says the world is stunned and horrified. Texas Congressman Michael McCall agrees, telling Fox News.
It involved an airport just like Brussels. It's like the sequel to Brussels. It's a second anniversary of the caliphate. Unlike the PKK, which strikes military, they often strike civilian targets.
Likely Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton says the attack strengthens the U.S. resolve to fight terror. U.S. stock futures are looking better today than they have since Brexit. Dow futures up about 100 points. Firefighters are trying to corral one of the biggest wildfires of the summer. Fire managers in Central California say the Erskine Hills fire near Bakersfield is about 60% contained. All eyes on Springfield this morning as Governor Bruce Rauner is pushing a stopgap budget to fund schools, universities, and other state services. The Democratic-controlled General Assembly is scheduled to meet today to discuss that school funding plan and a budget deal that may move state programs into the plus category in terms of spending until January, but there are serious differences between legislative leaders and the Republican Governor Bruce Rauner. 4 men are hurt following a shooting on Chicago's southwest side near 16th and Christina. No arrests have been made. Authorities are trying to figure out what caused a 7-year-old Park Ridge girl to die after attending a cheerleading camp at Maine South High School on Monday. Chicago sports. Cubs over Cincinnati 7-2. It took 15 innings for Chris Bryant and Javi Baez to seal up that win. Brian Dozier, 2 home runs. Minnesota beat the White Sox 4-0. The news, a service of Napa Auto Parts with more than 400,000 quality parts. Over 90 years of experience, Napa can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer, stronger with Napa know-how. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is looking for a united GOP to take on Hillary.
If Paul Ryan, if all these squishy, timid Republicans, the NRA, some fair-minded media types, if any of those factions would be in Donald Trump's corner, maybe he'd be up by 10 points right now. Who knows? Who knows? Democrats have no trouble uniting.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
You're unique, so why is your mattress one size fits all? Because a custom mattress costs thousands, until now. Hi, I'm Christian von Rickenbach, founder of HelixSleep.com, where you can buy a mattress online, customized for you, for hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. Go to HelixSleep.com, answer a few simple questions, and we build you the most comfortable mattress you'll ever sleep on. Shipping is free, and you have 100 nights to try it out. Go to HelixSleep.com/try now and get $50 off your order. HelixSleep.com/try now.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW for help getting free medication, if available and eligible. That's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
The success of a mid-sized business often comes down to one thing: managing your cash flow. I'm Ann Dollagall, Treasury Management Executive at Signature Bank. At Signature Bank, we take a personalized and proactive approach to structuring your cash management solutions to keep your financial assets safe and working for you. Our automated accounts receivable and accounts payable technology allows your business to grow without adding to your overhead expenses. And what truly sets Signature Bank apart is our personal approach. We get to know your business by rolling up our sleeves to work alongside you. Call me today for a review of your company's operational challenges.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
8:37, Guardian Security Services Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the eastbound Eden Spur, traffic is heavy past Waukegan Road to the Edens. Past that, it's fine inbound, but outbound very slow. Montrose to Winnetka Road, 40 minutes. Montrose to Lake Cook. The Kennedy is now 45 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 48. The Eisenhower, an hour and 5 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, 42 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 40 minutes to Manheim, an hour 5 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour and 5 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 40 minutes. The Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. On the northbound side of the tri-state, still heavy Archer to 31st. After the Cermak toll to the Grand Avenue curve, Adams Tollway sluggish, Elmhurst to Lee, westbound Meacham to Barrington. Reagan Tollway still Midwest to Roosevelt, Veterans Memorial. Still Boughton to the Reagan Tollway, Roosevelt to St. Charles, and from the Army Trail toll to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Pleasant and a warmer day ahead. High 78, clear and 59 overnight. 63 now at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Illinois Rising, hosted by Dan Proft and the Illinois Policy Institute. Sunday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, and that music means it's time to talk to our friend Steve Moore, who we'll get to in just a moment. But yesterday, Trump gave another scripted speech focused on the middle-income worker who has seen his and her economic prospects diminish under the last 7 years of President Obama, and in part sounding very much like Bernie Sanders talking about trade agreements and multinational interests. Trump had this to say with his, I would describe, protectionist 101 rhetoric.
America became the world's dominant economy by becoming the world's dominant producer. You know that from right here, right in this plant. The wealth this created was shared broadly, creating the biggest middle class the world has ever known. But then America changed its policy from promoting development in America, in America, to promoting development in other nations. That's what's happening, and that's what's happened. We allowed foreign countries to subsidize their goods, devalue their currencies, violate their agreements, and cheat in every way imaginable. And our politicians did nothing about it.
And he characterized the Trans-Pacific Partnership as something that would rape our country, using his words, quote unquote, rape our country. There was a nice little rhetorical device he used to kind of bring in Brexit when he talked about the need for this country to be independent from its elites.
I want you to imagine a much better life, and a life where you can believe in the American dream again. Right now, you can't do that. I want you to imagine how much better our future can be if we declare independence from the elites who led us from one financial and foreign policy disaster to another.
Probably the best moment of the speech, a little bit of Reagan-esque, but how do you reconcile the optimism there where Trump wants our destination to be with the path he outlined to get there? We put that question to Chief Economist at the Heritage Foundation and Trump campaign economic policy advisor, Steve Moore. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So reconcile Trump's Morning in America, the Morning America part of that speech with the protectionist part of the speech.
Well, how did I know you were going to ask me about this?
Right, exactly.
Look, one of the things I respect about Donald Trump is that even though I am an economic advisor, he knows that I don't entirely agree with him on trade, that I'm more of a free trader than he is, and we can have a difference of opinion, and that's not something that the left allows. You have to toe the candidate line completely, or you're not involved. I am a more of a free trader, but I'll tell you what I agree with them on, and you guys can challenge me on this if you want. I do think that for the last 20 years or so, we have negotiated trade deals that have not put the American worker and the American producers first. That, we've had a president now for 7.5 years that everything he negotiates, whether it's climate change deals or foreign policy deals or trade deals, he acts as if it's an apology for America's misdeeds in the past, and he seems to be putting American workers last.
Well, how can we negotiate a better trade deal? What would we negotiate for?
Sorry, I couldn't.
I said, what kind of trade deal should we be trying to aspire to?
Okay, that's a great question. What I think Trump is saying, and what I've urged him to do on trade, is to get tougher in these trade negotiations. One of the things that Trump says that is absolutely true, and a lot of even my free market friends will not acknowledge, is that China and Japan routinely cheat on the trade deals. There's no question about that. But China has not opened up its markets to us as we have to them. We know that. Japan, the same thing. That's not a trade deal that's working for the American people. Another thing China does, and to a lesser extent Japan, is look, what we produce in America, so much of is intellectual property. We produce technology, we produce computers, we produce drugs and vaccines, music, all of these things. We send them over to China, and they just steal them. They don't even pay us for this stuff. They disassemble what it is that we've created, and then they just copycat it and disregard our patents and our trademark laws and all these things. So, yeah, the idea of having a Donald Trump at the negotiating table, I think will work better for trade, and I think it will work better for the American worker.
Well, but let me ask you this, Steve. I mean, let's distinguish between theft, when you're talking about intellectual property, that's theft, from policy choices. China pursuing protectionist policies of its own. Would you say that it benefits America to be unilaterally free trade, even if its trading partners are not?
And here's where I might depart from my old friend and my great mentor and the greatest economist of the 20th century, Milton Friedman. I think Milton Friedman was for unilateral free trade.
Right.
I think we need to, have deals where they open up their markets and we open up our markets to them. And the point is, we can use our leverage. We have the biggest market in the world. We are the gold mine of every other country. We can basically demand that China start taking more of our products, and whether it's agricultural products or technology products or manufacturing products. They don't do that now. They basically are using de facto tariffs to keep our goods and services out. Now, look, the other point I made to Donald Trump is we have a completely back-assward tax system. We're the only country in the world that is so stupid that we tax what we produce here in America, but we don't tax what we import from other countries. I mean, how stupid is that? We're putting together a tax plan that is actually going to relieve the tax burden on what's produced here, and it's going to tax some of the stuff that comes into the United States, and we're going to do it in a way that is acceptable to the trade agreements and to the GATT rules. But why don't we do that? I mean, the number one thing that is chasing jobs out of America is our high corporate tax rate, and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have never wanted to fix that for 7.5 years.
Let me ask you this, though. Trump offered a couple of specific examples, including subsidized foreign steel. When foreign steel is dumped into our markets, threatening our factories, the politicians do nothing. That's what he said. Although George W. Bush imposed tariffs on imported steel 15 years ago, and President Obama has jacked up those tariffs on Chinese steel, 200%, up 90% on imported steel from South Korea, Italy, India, and Taiwan. So if that's not working, why should we double down on that policy?
Well, you're asking me some tough questions this morning, Dan. I mean, look, I understand what you're saying. If China and Japan and Korea want to give us steel for free, should we thumb our nose at it? I'm not so sure we should, because that just means, so much of what we import is then an input for what we're able to export. So,
right. Steel's an intermediate good. Right.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. Look, if other countries want to subsidize Americans to consume their goods, then, I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is when they manipulate their currency and they don't honor the agreement, that they say, look, we're gonna open up our markets. I mean, one of the major exports in America, as you know, is agriculture. Mm-hmm. We're the breadbasket of the world. We have the best agricultural products at the cheapest prices, and yet these Asian countries, they have erected barriers that are in violation of the trade agreement. That's not fair to American farmers.
Well, you said that China's not following their, playing by the rule book. What are they doing different?
In
addition to stealing,
not accepting, they're not allowing our agriculture, whether it's wheat or corn or cotton or soybeans. That's just one example. They're not allowing that into their country. And they're imposing de facto tariffs on it to raise the price that makes it impossible, not impossible, but very difficult for us to have access to the market. In a great, ideal world, we would live by, Adam Smith's law of comparative advantage. If we can produce agricultural products cheaper than they can, and they can produce toys cheaper than we can, we should, trade our agriculture for their toys. But what's happening today is we're buying their toys; they're not buying our agriculture.
Donald Trump said that he would renegotiate NAFTA or withdraw from NAFTA. Do you know what specifically, what parts of NAFTA he would like to renegotiate, which are deal breakers, as it were?
I don't know, but I'll say this. This is the one of the areas I disagree with Donald Trump on. I actually think that NAFTA has worked out pretty well. In fact, when I was working for Congress in 1994, 95, 93, 94, when we passed NAFTA, Bill Clinton signed it into law, but it was a Republican Congress that provided most of the votes. I mean, that was Ronald Reagan's vision, that we have a free trade zone that covers all of the Americas, and I still love that vision. And I just disagree with him on this. Look, is anybody concerned about all the stuff that we're bringing in from Canada? I mean, I don't think that's what people are concerned with. And with respect to Mexico, I believe that NAFTA is more about foreign policy than it is about our economy. We need Mexico as our southern neighbor. It's right on our border, obviously. We need Mexico to be economically stable, and NAFTA helps, lift up their economy. The last thing we want from an economic and a foreign policy and security standpoint is for Mexico to go the way of Hugo Chavez, where they become socialistic and then hostile to America. So, look, there are problems with NAFTA, but on balance, I think it's worked pretty well.
All right. He is Steve Moore, Chief Economist of the Heritage Foundation, Trump campaign economic policy advisor. And if you want more of the discussion on Trumponomics and also the Never Trump movement, you can check out upstream-ideas.com, where I've got an extensive interview with Steve Moore this week. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. By the way, guys, next week we're going to release the tax plan, and I guarantee you're going to love that.
All right. We look forward to that. Thanks.
Get him to release his taxes. Thanks, Stephen Moore. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Before we get to weather, Dan, here's why people don't trust the mainstream media. I'm logging onto ABC7's webpage, and it says, report, Trump asked Ditka to appear at RNC in Cleveland. And Trump has not asked Ditka, as you heard here with our exclusive interview. And then underneath it says, man 80 with Alzheimer's is missing from Palestine, Illinois. I think they meant to say Palatine, Illinois. Yeah, mistakes happen. Forecast for today, we're going to have plenty of sunshine, a high of 78 degrees. And then tomorrow, partly sunny skies, just another gorgeous day, a high of 82. Let's get into the traffic center.
There is a Palestine, Illinois. I don't know what the traffic's like there, but there is a Palestine, Illinois.
All right. Well, thanks for correcting me. I stand corrected. Here's a man who never gets it wrong, Jim Telemonte.
I try, Amy. Good morning. There's in Wakanda, there is a Wakanda, Illinois. 12 southbound is reopened near Bonner Road. There was an earlier overturned vehicle that blocked the whole roadway. The inbound Edens is looking good. 19 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 35. Kennedy, inbound delays start at Keeler. 40 minutes O'Hare to downtown, a little heavier in the express. Outbound, it's an hour downtown to O'Hare. The Eisenhower, an hour and 5 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound an hour 5 as well. Stevenson, there's a vehicle crash involving 7 vehicles near Lamont Road on the inbound side. Delay start at 53, then it's 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 40 to Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, still heavy, Archer to 31st and Roosevelt to North Avenue. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And in my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Have you been getting the runaround on a mortgage modification application? Underwater with your mortgage? Well, you'd be not alone. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of other people in the same boat with you. My name's Lou Bridges. My partner, Scott O, and I put together a law firm. One of the things we do is help people with modifications, only we don't just submit an application. Through proprietary software that we have access to, we determine what program or programs your loan is eligible for and what it would take to qualify you for those programs under the regulations. We work with our team of people, paralegals and clerks, and we put together everything, and then we submit the application for modification to the servicing bank. Only then we're not asking them, we're telling them this is the modification program our client has chosen from among those that we have confirmed they qualify for, their loan is eligible for under the regulations that you will give. And you must give because the net present value is far greater for the owner of the mortgage. So servicer, thank you for the modification. No more runarounds. Give us a call. We'll give you a free consultation.
224-513-1231. Coming up next, it's me, Mike Gallagher, right after Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, boy, I love this story. So Hillary Clinton in town yesterday.
Yeah.
For the Rainbow,
No,
or
2
Monday.
days ago. 2
Monday.
days ago.
For the Rainbow Push luncheon at
A
McCormick
women's
Place.
luncheon, Dan. It was a woman's
Yeah,
luncheon.
that's
Okay.
nice. And apparently Ron Burgundy has displaced Jesse Jackson as the head of Rainbow Push because they will read and reprint whatever you put on Wikipedia. The biography that was handed out on Hillary Clinton,
Yeah, on the brochure. Yeah.
taken from Wikipedia, included this. The only first lady to have been subpoenaed. Included her marriage endured the Lewinsky scandal. Included overall her role as first lady drew a polarized response from the public. This was in the official biography that was handed out in part of the lunch program. And it was the only time that truth has been told at a Rainbow Push luncheon.
They cut and paste her Wikipedia page and put it on there?
Read what you cut and paste.
Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
You don't need a real estate agent with gimmicks. You need the selling power that only Ed Lukasik Jr. can give you.
I'm Ed Lukasik Jr., owner of RE/MAX Professionals. I know how to maximize the sale of your home.
Ed is listed in the top 30 RE/MAX agents nationwide.
When I list a home for you, I only represent you, not the buyer. I am